I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:03 on March 7th. Thank you to Area 58 for filming tonight. I know that we have the fire chief and the police chief here tonight. Would anybody else like to be acknowledged? Kim? Okay. So the fire chief, Mr. Viveros, am I saying your name right? Okay, good. And the police chief, Chief Broderick. So do you want them to go first? Talk first? Do you guys want to talk first so you can leave?
It's up to you guys, whatever works for you.
Okay.
You want to stay till 10?
The sooner the better, right?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you want to kind of take the reins on this one, Bob, since you've been working with them regarding safety and stuff?
Who wants to go first? Did you have a plan? They're going to speak, I assume, about fire and building security. If you want to flip a coin, go ahead.
I guess we're here more to answer your questions on, if what you have in the back of your head or what you think is going on or not going on, or what's available from us, on a police or fire level. So I guess we're more open to some questions. I don't know if you have anything prepared to.
Yeah, I mean, I can go over a little bit about what we do, the fire department does now. This year, we're hoping to get into the school to run, we have money again from the Department of Fire Services to run the SAFE program, to do some education on fire safety. We're mandated, we come in 4 times a year to do lockdown drills and fire drills. The Plymouth County Fire Chiefs has been very involved in working with the police departments in developing active shooter protocols. Let's see. And over the past, since the beginning of the school year this year, we've been, a committee of us, along with the principals and folks at Silver Lake, have been working on updating the emergency emergency plans for the schools.
So the last fire drill that you guys did was like shaved a minute off of the time, is that correct?
It did, yeah. And we have a drill. We're going to be running a drill tomorrow also. Yep.
Is it yearly that you do a walkthrough? And because I remember like a year or 2 ago there was an issue with the quilt that was hanging.
Right. So we do a walk. We do before school starts. About 2 weeks before school starts, we come through and go through every single classroom and the basement and the roof. We go from the roof to the basement and identify any problems, and we forward those to Kane and Matt Durkee, and they've been great to work with. They've taken care of all the issues we've had, and that's when we sign off on this occupancy certificate for the year.
And I guess on the same note that they're not aware, Officer Mike Schleif, I've kind of assigned as our liaison. He's pretty much got free rein to do whatever the principal we need him to do. I know he stops in occasionally, at least once or twice a week, and roams the halls and chats with the kids, and just likes to get in and get a presence there. So they're used to seeing somebody in uniform and realize that they can talk to somebody and not be afraid of us, which is kind of a big thing, especially at this level.
Put him on lunch duty.
He loves it. So and it's tough to get the right personality in this environment and at this age group too. So I think it's a nice fit, and there's a lot of good interaction there. We also do at least once a year, the police department comes in and does some active shooter training in the school. So everybody in the department is very familiar with the school and all the little nooks and crannies and how things work here. So we are up to speed on that. So it's although it may not be out in the public's forefront that everybody sees, but we are obviously very proactive and concerned about the schools. Again, it's not something you're going to see outwardly very much, but we do try to keep a handle on what's going on around here and what's best for this age group and this particular building.
And just like, in case people haven't heard before, there's like an open line of communication between the school and both of the fire and the police department, in case.
Yeah, we're actually, hopefully, within the next
Couple days?
few
probably.
days, we've upgraded the system so that almost everything the school has and operates on for radio systems will be brand new. They'll have direct access to dispatch, which is as close as you can get to either one of us. I know I monitor the channel all the time, so I know what all the janitors are doing and who's going out for recess and all that stuff. That's something that's been in place for a long time, and hopefully with the new system, it'll be even better and work better for us. So.
Yeah, they should really have, I mean, communication should be crystal clear once this new radio system is up and running. And hopefully it'll be I'm hoping by the end of the week that we should be.
And
squared away with
I
that.
think when they are up and running, we'll come in and sit with the administration and just go over some of the protocols again. But it's as simple as turning the radio on and saying help. And we'll both be there.
That's great.
Both the police and fire have been instrumental. They've been working with us, as I mentioned. We're updating the emergency protocols. I think I mentioned that in the fall, through all our schools. So we've been meeting monthly with the police and fire in each of the towns. So they've been very supportive and helpful in working our way through that.
That's great.
Thank you, Bill, for all you do for us.
Oh, thank you.
No, that's what we're here for. So I don't know if anybody has any particular questions or, sure.
Who would handle a backup for a major incident outside the ability of the normal mutual aid? Would it be the sheriffs or the state police?
Depending on how large an event it is, and being a school, everybody.
Okay.
There really is no limit on the response for something like that. It's almost to the point where, I don't want to say you get too much help, but it has to be organized help. And that's kind of the biggest thing is like, so we have a plan for that. Fire is very good at large incidents like that, so they organize that, where police have always kind of been behind the fire in that learning curve, but there's really no limit. State police monitor that stuff all the time anyway, so they automatically send help for the most part. The surrounding towns, we all work very well with them, so you'd be surprised how much help and people and resources show up when that call goes out. So it would be, after the first few minutes, managing too many resources almost, but it's something that we do. So.
How about a smaller incident that would require forensic investigation? Do you use Plymouth County BCI or do you use CPAC?
Again, depending on the incident, BCI through the Sheriff's Department would be the first call for a relatively minor incident. Anything above that, then state police handle it. So they have the technology and the knowledge to do that stuff.
Is there anything else that either of you recommend to help the school be safer?
Well, there's always things to be done. Unfortunately, some of the infrastructure stuff costs a lot of money, and it's probably, it's obviously with the town and the financial situation, it's hard to get money for anything, even the stuff that the kids need on a daily basis. I think communications is the biggest thing, and not necessarily just radios, but an open line between administration and the police department and the fire department, and things like this, so that we're all on the same page and we all know what we have to offer, and I think that's the biggest thing, is to stay informed and everybody work together, whatever it happens to be. I mean, the town obviously can't afford to put its own security in the school, if that's something to think about. Not that it's necessary for us, but all those sorts of things are very expensive, and the return Although, you know, it's hard to say, you can't put a price tag on anybody's safety, but it's a tough sell in the economy today and the way things are. But again, I think things like this with the communications, we talk and everybody's on the same page and knows what's available is the best.
But if money was no objects, then there would be other recommendations.
Well, I mean, there's again, we have to be careful with this age group. There's always talk about cameras, you know, but there's where to place them and who monitors them, who records them. There's, you know, tracking of control of people coming in and out of the buildings. You know, all the doors could be, you know, proximity card or security carded at some event so that you couldn't get in and out of any of the doors. Yeah, there's things like that, but they're huge money. And again, if, you know, the administration, the staff, and everybody keeps their eyes and ears open and, you know, pays attention to who belongs and who doesn't belong and feels comfortable in making a phone call to say, hey, look, this person doesn't look quite right, so that they can be checked on, I think goes a long way.
I guess I never really asked this question, but say there was an incident, how does the information get relayed to the parents if their children are in the school at the time? That's something, even if it's like a fire, small fire, like how does that come back to us as parents?
Blackboard Connect? That
So it would be
email
like
or
an
text
email or a phone?
call. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we have emergency, which goes out within minutes.
I just never
Oh,
bothered to
like
ask
the
that
Amber Alerts
question.
go out
Yes.
like that, like a robocall?
Yes, when we like call snow days.
Okay.
It does work.
Yes.
I was just gonna hand these out. It's from the Department of Fire Services, and it has all the codes that apply to schools in them, so if people want to just take a look. Some of the things that came up with the quilt, but it explains it has a little, or at least where to look for the regulations on things like that. One of the things that we struggle with every year is the artwork on the walls, whether it's sprinkler, that type of thing. And that brochure kind of covers that. It covers the mandatory reporting requirements, even for small fire, you know, even if there's the smallest possible fire needs to be reported and that type of thing. But the pamphlet covers it pretty well. And as far as the fire and the alarm system was redone just a couple years ago, so the alarm system's in great shape. I would caution that we should probably at some point think about the sprinkler system that is gonna need repairs. Oh, you're discussing it today? Oh, that's good. Matt's done a great job with keeping up with the problems with it, but I mean, leaks don't get any,
They don't get smaller.
leaks don't get smaller, yeah, and as pipes start to corrode, they don't get any better, so. But we haven't had any major problems this year at all, no.
Does anyone else have any questions for either of the chiefs? Well, thank you both for coming in and just kind of giving us an overview of, you know, what your affiliation with the school is and how up to speed we are and things. We appreciate it. And if we have any questions, we can contact you guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anything, you know, comes up in the next few days or any time, just, you know, we can give either one of us a call. We're more than happy to talk to you.
Absolutely.
All right? All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That's pretty painless, huh? Everybody have a chance to review the minutes from February 1st?
Motion to approve the regular session minutes of February 1st.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Not seeing any. In regards to the executive session minutes, we are going to approve and hold them.
Yes, please.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving and holding the executive session minutes from February 1st? Yeah.
Why are we holding them?
Because we're still discussing
Some of the information.
part of the information in here.
Usually it all be spelled out like this, and then you would hold it. That's what I was
Okay.
Did somebody second my
Yes.
approve? Oh, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of approving and holding the executive session minutes from February 1st? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Warrants are circulating. Actually, I think they're all in front of me.
I think we're done.
I'll get to them in a minute, or, yeah, they might be done. School committee correspondence and reports. You didn't put anything in front of me that I'm missing,
not.
right? And there wasn't anything in the mailbox, and I haven't received any emails that we really need to talk about that aren't listed somewhere else on here. So, Mr. Beaudry, would you like to update us on the energy efficiency project? Seeing as we're all,
I'm gonna grab a coffee.
So an update in terms of the lighting. We now have the classrooms, as you can see in the library, that the new lighting has been installed in the library and classrooms 1 through 6. We also had a meeting last week, and Joy was there, Casey was there, the lighting department, the lighting contractors were there with us. Mr. Gerke and Danny Boyle, who's the electrician who's been in this building for 15 years. So we all met to discuss what's been going on with the process in terms of the lighting project itself, in terms of some of the delays that have gone on, some of the concerns that we had in the building. Some of the classrooms in the back area of this building, we were hoping that there would be more fixtures in the rooms, because we actually learned that there was a lot more into just replacing the fixtures in there. We talked about lumens and foot candles and things like that. So we had expressed our concerns about putting more lighting into the classrooms. So they were very receptive to what we were talking about. They wanted to address that and test some of the rooms that are up in the back here to see if it would be adequate lighting in some of these areas. On the top floor here, we have dormers that take up some space in those classrooms. So there were only 5 fixtures that were put in. And then on the first floor, the same thing happened, where we have big closets in the areas in the rooms down here. So they only put 5, but they were putting in almost 6 in the rest of the classrooms throughout the building.
but they're these same lights, so they're pretty bright, right? Or are they different
They're
lights?
These lights, here, so yes.
Oh, okay.
So the 2 light doors, these are what you would see in the classrooms. They're different because before there were the hanging lights that had one big long track that hung down 2 or 3 feet from the ceiling. So it's a very different light than I think teachers are used to. I think and please feel free to chime in, Casey, on anything. I think one of the pieces was that we didn't necessarily measure the amount of lumens and foot candles prior to installation. So I believe that some of the classrooms had more than adequate lighting. So they were saying how the classrooms on average would be somewhere in the 30 to 35 lumen or foot candle range.
Something like that.
But I think we were putting out well more than the 30 to 35. So we probably had more lumens and foot candles in the classrooms than we needed to. So it's a big adjustment for teachers to now readjust to that, I think.
And I think it's an adjustment for the students to remember that they're sitting at their desks all day, reading, writing.
Right.
And one of my concerns, I think Dean's as well, was that we have adequate lighting in all the classrooms, because we are, as I found out, we're not replacing every fixture, so we don't have as much light in our rooms as we used to, which is okay as long as we have adequate. And there is, as I've been informed, no code to what we're supposed to have, recommended guidelines. So.
And it's difficult even for teachers as well, because the teachers are the ones in the rooms experiencing it. So when the installers come in, they're just thinking in terms of what they're dealing with. I mean, we find that there's definite dark spots in certain parts of the room that, for us educators, I guess we're thinking that there were parts of the room that are in front of the projector and then over the teacher desk were dark in most of the rooms, I think. So
With the new lighting.
with the new lighting. Whereas the old lighting was, the lights were everywhere. And just because they hung differently. These are very similar here. And even if you walk around this library, if you turn these lights up, you can see that there are definite dark parts, dark areas.
So how do we address that?
Well, they when we talked with the contractor and spoke up about some of our concerns, they are willing to do some tests and stuff and see if we can get better coverage and stuff. Might mean less savings overall, but we've got to weigh the savings versus what we need to.
Yeah, because the
And
kids
that's-
need to see.
Exactly.
Eye
And-
strain, headaches.
And that was my concern as I was looking in some of the rooms, and we've got to weigh that.
Could they have been mounted lower in the fixture?
That just,
I
I
don't-
think that's all one thing that's,
It just sits in that. And these are different from what we originally had planned on.
Yeah.
We had originally planned on 2x2, and they were flat, like the AC in the hallway out there was more similar to that type of fixture, which is the test that we did in the art room 2 years,
2 years
a year
ago.
and a half ago.
Year and a half, yes.
And Danny Boyle did the installation on that, who's our electrician. But he hasn't really been involved in this project as much, but he is going to be moving forward. So he's helping out with the design aspects when we test out some of the rooms to see what we like, where to put them.
So the other, you said classrooms 1 through 6, I don't know what you,
grades 1 through 6, all the classes.
oh, all the classrooms are grade 1. So what's left then? The art, music, kindergarten, cafeteria?
Okay, so let's back up a minute. So the kindergarten classrooms are being done, but the fixtures that they plan on putting in there don't work with our ceiling and roof, so they have to find something else.
Okay,
The hallways, the cafeteria, the gym, and a lot of the workspaces aren't being done in this space.
okay,
I believe it's only the all-purpose room and the kindergarten that needs to be completed.
Yes.
okay.
Actually, they did offer, during the whole meeting, I was there and Charlie was there, when we talked to the contractor and we talked about the delays that had happened, he agreed to do the hallway lighting.
He said he'd check into it, he didn't agree with it.
Well, he said they were on site and he seemed pretty, I mean, I took it that it was,
I took it that he would check with his boss to make sure it was okay, but it's not agreed to or anything, that's why I don't want to say they're getting done.
yeah, I
It
think.
was a gentle offer.
Okay.
From what they said, that they, for what we've been working with, is that they would install lights in all the hallways.
Okay.
Which would be a huge savings over what we have,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still, it's
And
not a
there are-
definite, I don't want to say it's a definite.
So,
I'm a black and white kind of person now.
And
Go ahead.
they're also installing sensors and changing out the switches in classrooms. And I feel like they're installing one other piece too, some kind of emergency switch or something. Those are other pieces that.
The motion sensors, right?
Right.
So that if there's no movement in the classroom, the lights are gonna go
That's
off.
the way I understand it. They
Okay.
haven't been installed yet.
Okay.
But as of now,
Somebody's
the
gonna
pictures
be,
have been in the classroom.
some kind of a time frame that they'll go down. I'm worried about the kids sitting there writing, taking a test. Say they're you're taking that test, okay? And they're supposed to be quiet and still and everything, and the lights go off.
Oh, they'll love it.
It's very
And
distracting.
they just go like this.
Yeah.
It just makes sure the teacher moves around, I guess. I don't know. That's the thing that's going through my head right now.
Maybe you can program the timer.
And that's what I'm,
so when is the next round? Because they did this over February break, right?
Just, and well, some of it, some of it.
it's been ongoing since,
So it's still in motion?
It's still-
Oh, I didn't know if they were pausing and coming back in April or something. I just was curious about how the time situation.
We
been
met
kind of painful.
on
Yeah, I can
Thursday
imagine.
last week.
Okay.
Well, the teachers walk around the class anyway, so they're not going to go off
Have
probably.
any teachers, students, parents complained?
They don't like it?
it's an adjustment for everyone.
Yeah, we had double lights, it's 60 to 30.
They were getting double the light, now they're getting less.
Yes.
See, that concerns me because, and I mean, well, one for the teacher's sake, but also like, you know, my daughter wears glasses, much like I do, and the biggest thing the optometrist said when I went, he goes, you need to make sure she has plenty of light when she's reading and doing her homework, because she's gonna end up like this, and she can't see, and it's gonna affect her vision in the long term. You know, it's gonna make it worse, because her eyes are straining so young when they're growing.
When you say 60 to 30, you're talking watts?
No.
Lumens.
Lumens, okay. So it actually is less light.
Foot
candles?
Foot candles, okay.
I don't know what that means. I don't know.
They put in the middle of the room, and they turned off the lights, and then measured the foot candles in the room with the lights off, and then turn the lights on, and then you can measure how many lumens.
Very
from now in
scientific.
the room. And it should be,
Like, I think he said like 40, but can I just ask a question about, I thought it was just really, because we took a walk around the areas that were of concern, and it was mostly the dormant area that teachers were having some issues, and so those are the areas that the contractor has agreed to look at and add additional lighting, but I thought the other classrooms were okay.
besides the ones down
Yes.
here too.
Oh,
It's really the back half of the building
yes,
that we're concerned
but the
about.
other classrooms seem to be okay.
The ones that were done when we walked around,
Right.
when we walked around and that led the.
Right, they did finish the 4th and 5th grade wing on the outside of the building, so, I mean, from the teachers, I mean, we haven't really gotten much feedback besides just this act section that there was not enough lighting.
So do you need Charlie to follow up on the hallway lighting if you're unclear, or are you
Oh
going
my
to do that, like who do you want to?
This is-
Because I don't want to let that go.
That's what a classroom is like.
I will get in touch with Charlie.
Maybe we should go and take a look at a classroom.
I've been, Charlie and I have been emailing back and forth, and there's a group of us that are all
I'm gonna
completed.
ask Caroline too.
We
She
keep on
knows
top
better.
of this, because, I mean, we
Did
want
they
to
say
see it completed so that the town saves some money, but at the same time, we've got to be conscientious.
Yeah, and we want to take advantage, because that gentleman, in my opinion, felt like he was feeling the need to give back to us in some way. So I definitely want to jump on his offer to do the holiday.
I will email him tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank you, Casey, for really taking the reins on this, too. I appreciate that.
We'd appreciate it very much, guys, we're meeting.
Light.
Hey, you know, somebody's got to light a fire under him.
You did bring cookies.
I did bring cookies, but you know what?
He tried to play it off like you're sweet.
Yeah, she did.
No, get it done. Yeah.
Right, you know? So.
It worked on me.
Okay, is that it? Okay. New business, resolution calling for full funding of the foundation budget.
I asked that this be put on the agenda. There's a coalition going around asking that school committees, boards of selectmen, and our finance committees adopt the attached resolution. In fiscal 2015, the state legislature created a foundation budget review committee. They got two different reports, one in early 2015 and one in late 2015. One of the findings of the review committee is that foundation budgets across the state have not kept up with increases in health insurance and special education costs.
So let me stop you right there, just so everybody understands, the foundation budget is the Chapter 70 money? Is that what you're referring to? What do you,
The foundation, a foundation budget, the state sets a foundation budget for each school system. So we have a foundation budget for Halifax Elementary. And it is supposed to be a level at which we can provide an adequate education for our students. They don't say good, it says adequate. And this is all on the DESE's website. And it's something that I followed for years, which is when they formed this foundation budget review committee. I was very interested in what came of it. And like I was saying, some of the areas that they're really focused on is the increases in health insurance, which we never see in our budget as the elementary school, but it's a cost that town bears on behalf of the elementary school, and special education. I was on the website today, and for fiscal 17, I think foundation budget for special education is about $160,000. When you look at our budget for special education, we spend that in this building. Let's not even talk about out of this building. So basically what this resolution asks is to ask the governor and the state legislature to go with the recommendations of the review committee and say, you know, we need to adjust some of the pieces of our foundation budget as we're doing this. I'm not saying that the state is going to jump on board and increase our foundation budget. They probably won't. But it would be nice for us as a school committee and for the selectmen and the finance committee to adopt this and say, hey, look, you know, these are costs that our towns are incurring and increasing more on our town's tax levy than in Chapter 70. Our Chapter 70 funding has not even kept up.
No.
And that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking that, you know, we get gung-ho on this. It's just asking that, you know, we adopt this, send that message to the state to say, hey, you know, you're cutting back on Chapter 70 funding, you're cutting back on the town's general aid. We can't keep bearing these increased costs on top of the additional mandates they're giving us. The foundation budget formula was part of, as formed back in 1993, and has not been adjusted.
So they didn't prepare for the cost of the increase?
The increase that is part of the foundation budget formula doesn't come anywhere close to what it actually is in today's day and age.
If I may, I've studied this issue for quite a number of years, and Casey's dead on corrected on this. This was spawned from the Education Act of '93. It hasn't changed, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the minimum amount that any district is allowed to spend, and that's woefully inadequate to address the actual cost of running a school district. And Chapter 70 funds don't come close to bridging that gap. So basically, you have this minimum level that has remained relatively consistent, and more costs, such as fixed costs, continue to rise, health insurance continues to rise. And they used to try to bridge that gap as best as they could with Chapter 70 money, but the gap is getting wider and wider and wider with special education costs. They're not kicking back as much money to the district. If we could raise that baseline even a little bit going forward, I think it would help. Will cure all the entire problem, certainly not, but it's a start. And so I'm full support of this.
I think they would have had the foresight to say, we'll review this every 10 years or something. It's just-
Well, they're supposed to review it, and they did review it, and they're choosing not to do anything about it. That's where I'm getting frustrated with it. Yeah, just a little nudge, you know, and it's not going to happen for current fiscal year, and it's probably not going to happen for fiscal 17 either. But, you know, every little nudge might say, hey, you know, we should be at least willing to look at it and talk about it.
Absolutely.
And not keep cutting back on the increases in Chapter 70 and 93.
And it makes yourself a real headache, trying to understand how the foundation budget formula actually works, because it is mind-blowing.
It is.
Well, it's not going to hurt us to send this, right? We're not going to
Not at all.
penalize us.
Do we have the state rep on board and the senator?
I did not ask. I will not. If we voted, I will happily email them both and say, hey, this is what we did.
Right, we can put it on letterhead and mail it out, which we've done with other ones.
And that would even be better, put it on
Fancy.
We'll make it
From the
official.
state.
Yes.
Might help, because they're going to see it at some point anyway.
And I would be more than happy to take this to the finance committee and the selectmen and ask them.
Is she the MASC woman?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
one who presented. Yep. And then
So
this
they're
is-
behind this too then?
Yes,
Yes.
this is
They're
from them.
spearheading it,
Yeah.
I'm guessing,
Yeah,
MASC?
Exactly, yep. And then this is the actual resolution. Just kind of cut and pasted it so it's easier to read because this is so much verbiage.
Yeah. I read it in the email, but I didn't really fully
Yeah,
understand.
that's why I kind of cut it out. It made it a little easier.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
So I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the Suburban Coalition's resolution for Chapter 70. And I don't know if you want me to read this or not.
I don't
It's up to you. I mean, this is the actual motion.
This is the actual, yep.
It's on the smaller piece of paper, just to make it a little easier to read.
I think we can read it. So this is the resolution calling for full funding of the foundation budget review. Whereas the Massachusetts Foundation Budget Review Commission identified 2 areas, employee health insurance and special education, where the Massachusetts Foundation budget significantly understates the true cost of educating students in the Commonwealth and has failed to keep pace with the rising cost. Whereas this underfunding means the cost of providing a quality education has increasingly been borne by local communities, most often at the expense of other vital municipal operations. Whereas investing in education today leads to higher incomes and thus less investment in police, prisons, subsidized healthcare, low-income housing, welfare, etc. in the future. Whereas state and local economies are most effectively strengthened by investing in education and increasing the number of well-educated workers. Therefore, be it resolved that the Halifax School Committee calls on the Massachusetts Legislature and the Governor of Massachusetts to fully fund and adopt the recommendations of the Foundation Budget Review Commission in the immediate future. That's my motion.
I second.
Do we know who sits on this commission? Are there any members of the legislature?
It was created by the legislature. And
So
there
it's-
were legislatures and there were, and I believe they hired somebody.
Right. And if you go to this website, and I don't know who it is, Bob, but on the bottom here, this is the report, so you could go on there, and in the report, it lists who are the members.
I did go on and look at it.
I can't
did-
remember, yeah. At the bottom of the,
Well, maybe we should send it to them as well, whoever sits on that commission.
Well, it says here, it just says at the bottom of the letter that it's being sent to Beacon Hill, but
Yep.
we don't really have specifics, so maybe,
And then that's why.
Yeah, we'll send it to- we'll send it to-
Our state.
Right, right.
Representatives and. the
Exactly.
governor also.
and the governor, yeah.
yep.
Okay.
So it was,
So was it seconded?
yes, Linda.
Oh, okay. All those in favor of the motion as Casey has read it? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Future agenda items. Anybody?
I'd like to do something this time. There's been a lot of chatter within the last week on social media about bullying and anti-bullying programs. There's been a lot of questions. I was wondering if our next meeting, we could just address specifically what the Halifax Elementary School anti-bullying program is, details, ways that parents can report such incidents. Obviously, we couldn't get into specific cases involving specific students, but just more of a discussion in general about what the policy entails, just so the public gets a better idea.
And like you said, what do I do as a parent if my child comes home and says, you know, I'm, whatever, feel like I'm a
It's
victim?
more to empower parents, to empower students who may be victims of bullying. Just know what the process is. I just think it's a good idea, especially since this is popped up recently on social media.
Do we have anything in our agenda about that? No.
Handbook. I think we do. No, we have a bullying policy. Yeah.
But does it
Yeah.
cover social media too?
I don't know.
It does, but social media, some of the names change quite regularly, like Instagram, Snapchat, I mean,
Your
those.
MySpace page.
Yeah. We don't specifically list, because it does change quicker than I am able to keep up.
I'm aware the policy is available in the handbook.
Yes.
A lot of parents might have questions, we might be
Sure.
able to do it, discuss it in a little more succinct fashion than just asking people to read the handbook, because some of that might be, a little overbearing for them. So, just thought it would be a topic to discuss.
Sure, definitely. Anything else? Okay,
I didn't know, should we go, did you want to go to order with the budget, with the finance?
Sure, we can, that's
Mayor, or
fine.
did you want to
Nope.
keep going? I didn't know.
I don't have any problem with that. We're gonna go out of order and do budget stuff, so people can go home if they want to, before we go through everything.
All right, so in order to rearrange the agenda, you need
I need a motion, yes.
a motion to move the budget out of order.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? Okay. So should we have Chris, Oh, it's a separate agenda item, though, to do Christine. I was going to say, should we have Christine do the financial report
Sure,
first,
sure.
and then talk about the budget, just so it's kind of together?
Perfect.
Okay, do we have to do a motion for that, too? Or can we just call it? Do we
We
have to
can-
make a motion for that, too?
It's fine. It's all good.
Okay. If you don't
That's it.
mind, Christine.
Yeah, that's great.
Ready to go?
Perfect.
On our finance report today, we are 2/3 of the way through the year, and we have not had too much chaos that's impacted us. We're doing pretty well. There are several items that I'd like to bring to your attention. On page 2, I actually think none of these have, we don't have any new deficits, so I'll just report on some of the ones that have existed. On page 2 of the detail, near the top of the page, is a deficit of $199.52. The schools have started to use a new substitute management system, and they have all agreed to pay for this out of their principal supply line. And we have increased the budget for next year to cover this. This year did include a one-time setup fee as well as the first year's fee to use the system. So that's why there's a slight deficit this year. On page 4 of the detail, 3/4 of the way down the page, there's a deficit of $95.50. That's primarily because of additional shipping costs that we had to manage. And then, let's see, on page 5 of the detail, we have more here. Oh, sorry.
You say additional shipping?
Shipping costs for items that we have shipped to the school. The costs are a little higher than we had expected on materials that we did need to purchase. On page,
Is that in, 422?
I'm sorry, I was doing too fast. Let's see. On page 4 of the detail, deficit of $95.50, under maintenance, yes, it's under the 422 function code. It was a supply line.
Room rental.
What we had earlier in the year, when we budgeted that item, we budgeted some room rental that we're going to receive from Pilgrim Collaborative as well as the Y, and we had used that in our 2016 budget to offset the budget. So what we did so that we would always keep that in mind is we actually put it to the budget so that we could never overspend the budget. Usually that was kind of taken care of offline. Now we'll kind of put it right here in the building report so that we would see it. So what will end up happening is at some point in the year, we may have some expenditures that would be needed to be done for the school. We could actually use those funds to offset them. Right? We have not made use of that yet, but that could be coming. On page 5 of the detail, the bottom of the page is a deficit of $1,633.94 under special education supplies. These are for additional testing materials that we were not aware of last year, but this is what we need to get through the year. There's nothing actually in this that we need to get through the year. And if you flip over to page 6 of the detail, on the top is another deficit of $277.80. And those are some additional testing supplies that we needed under the psychologist department. Again, these are items that we needed. We didn't have extra amounts. We had to make use of purchasing those items. And then the last deficit is the very last account, the tuition account. What I want you to note is that this does not include any money from circuit breaker as of yet, and we will be applying for extraordinary relief because we had an unexpected student come into our system. It's a residential placement, so it's pretty significant. So we will be applying for extraordinary relief, circuit breaker extraordinary relief funds. We do not know yet what the result of that will be, but we are applying. We're preparing that if that doesn't work as well as we hope, that we would probably have to use the surpluses that we have in our other accounts, for instance, in our out-of-district transportation account, and then also in the contracted services account for special education, to try to offset that if we don't get as much as we hope extraordinarily. But we won't know that until later in the spring. The application process is starting just now, and what they do is they compare the funds that are available versus the need that's out there. So once we submit our application, we'll get a better sense of where that will fall out. We will fit into that plan.
Best case scenario, how much we hope,
The placement is a pretty significant placement. I think it's $160,000. So we will try to recoup the piece of that we can, which would be anything over $42,000. We try to recoup some of those funds that we had to spend in this year.
Christine, are we going to need an article on special town meeting to money room? Are we going to be prepared for that, or?
We don't know the answer to that yet, but we are hopeful that between circuit breaker, extraordinary relief, and then as the last resort, we would use the surpluses that were available in the transportation account in the contracted services line.
Okay.
And we're hopeful that would be more than what we would need if the worst case scenario developed. And then the only other item I want to bring to your attention is on the very last page, out of district vocational. We still have $60,000 available there. I want to just kind of feed that to the current year budget. We're budgeting the same thing for the new year as we did for the old year. We have 3 returning students, plus 2 students that have already applied to Norfolk and Bristol County that are going. So we're up to the number that we had budgeted for next year. We do have additional students that will apply to some other out-of-district placements, vocational placements, but I confirmed with 2 out of the 3 today that they are not accepting freshman students from towns that are not in their district. For instance, Bristol, Plymouth, Southeastern Regional, and South Shore Vocational. So just waiting to hear back from one school. So the 159 that's on the budget, we will need going into next year based on the numbers of students that we have right now. And again, they have until April 1st to apply, so things could change. All right, so that's where they are on the finance report.
Perfect.
And would you like me to start with the piece
Please.
on the budget? Okay. On the report that you received in tonight's package, this is a little different than the first version of the budget that we had. What has happened is there's been an update of the shared cost accounts for the shared cost budget that was voted at the February 29th Union 31 meeting. We updated circuit breaker reimbursement to 65%. I was at a meeting with TESC representatives who said that they felt comfortable that based on the government's budget, we can go up to 65% as a reimbursement number from the 50 that we originally had. We have updated for 2 known retirements that are happening for next year. I have updated the gas account. I know Casey gave me a call. She was a little concerned that I had decreased the budget too much. Sure.
Yeah.
But we've actually had some surprises in our gas account. We've had some savings because of the new thermostats that have been installed. And
Oh,
we've
that's
also
great.
just renegotiated the gas contract for next year. And there is a savings, and it's beginning as of August 1st, so we will feel the impact of that during next year. So I have decreased the budget for those known information for gas. And I've also had to adjust the telephone accounts because I had mentioned previously the E-rate reimbursements going down. So I've had to increase the telephone lines to account for that because we wanted as much E-rate funding. I think actually in 18 it will be gone altogether. So 17 is last year, we'll have some reimbursement. All right, so those are the items that were put to the budget. And then I have to mention a couple mistakes that were found. On the budget that you received tonight, if you look at the FY16 column, there was the formula is not picking up the amount that I used to offset rental revenue, the $11,000. The totals in the bottom of the page were correct. It was just that subtotal there that was not correct. So we've made that correction for the handout that you have tonight. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that the information that was sent to you in email, we were off just a little bit. When we increased, let me just get the exact numbers. When we increased the positions that we had talked about to 1.0s, to restore the opposition, it was at $5,248, which is the amount that was in the email. To restore the librarian, it's $5,502, which is $500 more than what was in the email. And then to restore speech to 1.0, it's $16,281.80. And that's $300 less than what was in the email. So all those items have been taken into account. So you have 2 versions of the budget. You have one version, which is budget 2, which includes all the adjustments before restoring the positions. Then you have a second cover sheet, which includes restoring those 3 positions to 1.0. And it's noted on the bottom. The second one will say version 2, restore positions. So that's just to get you up to date.
Thank you for doing that,
You're welcome.
Paige. I appreciate that. So let's talk about the budget.
Did you want to hear from the town or?
Yes, Mr. Andrews came in late,
Sorry.
but you're here, so that's what matters. Do you want to give us a feel for what's being discussed on the Finance Committee side of things? And
Okay, so right now we have updated all the revenue numbers, actually updated from Friday at this point in time. With the current budget, we are now with the lower budget, I chose to do the numbers for the lower budget, we are still $51,000 in a hole as like for the whole town. So with the updated number, we are $51,000 in the red, and that's without giving raises to any other employees. The only ones receiving raises in this budget that we have are just the 2 schools because of the contracts you guys have signed. But all the other towns, departments are negotiating right now. So that's that's where we sit, so we're $51,000 in the hole. I was really hoping not to get Christine's news about vocational students, but if that's the case,
That April 1st is the magic deadline with that. I don't believe any numbers that Christine says until April 1st.
you already said 2 more applied.
We have 3 returning students, 2 additional students that have applied to schools that are accepting,
Which is the 5 that's on this paper.
which is 159 represents 5 students.
Right.
And then we do have 2 additional students that have applied, but all their applications have gone to those other vocational places that are not accepting freshmen from out of their own district.
So the 159 number is pretty much real.
Very
As
real.
of today, don't forget, April 1st is the
Right, but
deadline. We have, in the past, come to that April 1st deadline, been talking about a specific number of persons, and at the last minute, somebody else. I don't want you to go back and say this is a real
No,
number.
it's not going to get any lower.
It's definitely not getting lower. Well, it won't unless someone turns it down. We have had students be accepted but choose not to go.
Right, so honestly, that's where I was hoping we would see
sorry.
savings this year because of the current population this year going to education schools. So this 51,000 in the red is a real number. And I don't know, I think right now we have health insurance at a 20% number. So I think we're going to be able to cut that if we hear back from the middle of March what the steering committee is going to choose to do. We know that health insurance is going up at least 15%. So that's for the town side and the employees as well. So if you're on a family plan, it's $1,000 a month. You're going to see a 15% increase in that cost. And that's for every employee that has health insurance.
Well, that affects the town and Silver Lake?
Yes.
Yes, all of us.
We're all going to make our municipal route for health insurance.
So we know that that number is going to increase next year by at least 10% as well. So looking at this year, next year, I can already tell you that it's going to be a tight budget. Just because of retirement and insurance for next year. So we're looking at -51. It's about a $50,000 increase to give a 1% raise to all the other employees.
So that would put us in the deficit.
So it put us at a deficit of $100,000.
And that's 1%. I mean, it could be 2, it could be a half, but,
Well, we can't really negotiate, I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump for a second. As a person negotiating the other contracts, I could not negotiate in good faith. I'm having a hard time even negotiating 1% when I know I don't have it.
no, but that's police, fire, right? I mean, like the,
Police, fire, dispatch,
And
wage and personnel, highway.
but they can amend it on town meeting floor and say they want, right?
Right, but if there's no money to balance the budget, we have to cut positions.
Right. But I'm saying hypothetically,
Hypothetically, anybody.
somebody could stand up and say,
Right.
right,
We want
okay.
15.
So we have to.
Right, because I remember last year it was a big,
Right. But we
discussion.
did balance budget last year, that was the difference.
that's the role of the finance committee, is to
Right.
bring a balanced budget to town meeting.
So, and if somebody got up at town meeting and wanted, like last year, people, I think, wanted 1.5% and it settled on 1. We had funding for the 1.5, but town meeting chose only to give 1. So if somebody, let's say, I'll just interrupt.
Go ahead.
So I know typically at this time of year, we're in a deficit, so normally I don't really get so panicked by it. The problem with this year right now is we've already seen a relief where we normally get it. So we've already looked at new growth, we've already looked at different things. So this deficit is becoming more clear to us. And the thing about the health insurance is that we did budget 20%, and financially, that's really what Mayflower should raise the rates to. Because they have been keeping rates steady for about 5 years, and they've been eating up surplus. And I haven't personally agreed with that philosophy, but that's the way they've managed the pool. So the employees in the town have, we felt the relief of 5 years of not having really much increase, and now, boom, we're going to get hit. And so what we expect said they may make the wrong financial decision and cut it to only 15%. But as Gordon said, that's not going to solve the problem, you're just kicking the can down the road. And so we're looking at a minimum of 15%. It could be 20, because that's what, in order to keep the reserves at the level of which is a policy for their group, it should be 20.
What is each 1% for the town?
1% is about $7,500.
So, yeah, and so for us now, when we talk about increases, and, as your employees, they were all getting 15% hit in their health insurance, so they're essentially getting a cut in pay in the next year. And so when we sit down with the other unions and we don't have the money, there's a problem, and there's a fairness, and we keep losing people once we train them because we're not paying them a fair wage. And so we're trying whatever we can to try and maintain the staff. But I would just plead, and I'll turn it over to Gordon, is that I know that you have the proposal to restore some hours. I'm going to ask the school committee not to make that decision until we can clear our deficit. I beg you with that, because it's going to be really hard to sit in front of other employees and say that we restored and other people are getting raises and they're not. And it puts us in a very difficult position. And I just think until we clear that deficit, I'm going to ask you not to make that choice.
Do you mind to ask a question? I don't know if this is best suited for Mr. Andrews. We attended a finance committee meeting, I think 2 months ago, and this budget was initially presented. It hasn't changed that much. I know we got the special ed in here, but at that time, the FinCom seemed amenable to what we were presenting. And my question, I guess, is, what do you know now that you didn't know?
The insurance.
The primary thing.
The insurance.
Insurance, and I think we had a population increase at Silver Lake. That was a huge
So
difference.
that-
We didn't have the Silver Lake number then. So that's going up 250,000.
207 right now.
207. Well, that's what we're working towards.
I had a question about that. How much of that 207,000 increase is a real increase, and how much of it was because of what happened at town meeting
It
last
would
year?
be 307,000.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they had increases for health insurance as well, and
Yeah, they
all
did.
those things and raises. So they have things in their budget, and we have a population increase.
Yeah, $307,000
It's a huge amount,
increase.
so that's the difference.
Yeah.
on town meeting floor, so like, oh.
Will
For
the-
just the town Halifax?
Yes, so I can give you a quick
They
update
reduced
on that number. What happened was the net minimum contributions came out the last week in January, first week of February, and we saw that Kingston's number decreased by about $125,000. Our number went up about 40, Clinton went up about 40, so that shift differential came to us. We also have a population increase. So when you look at the numbers, the current budget that went up, it's about a $207,000 increase in the town Halifax.
Just out of curiosity, how many students is the population increase? It's like 2, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 0.2%, I think, 0.2, sorry,
2/10.
0.2.
I
My glasses on, I gotta start wearing them.
But I think it's important that we understand when we talk about a student.
17, went up 0.2 point, yep.
We're talking hundreds of students, it's 2 students.
Right.
And it can have such a swing.
It is. I did have two things. One was, I just was wondering, I know you recently moved to increase the cost of ambulance fees. Will that be a help? Is that?
Well, we won't know that, and we can't really, part of that is, as well as to add a third person, and we're not even bringing that to town meeting, I don't think, this year, because we need some months to look at the projection of that revenue. But again, that revenue source is hopefully, as we've talked about, the response time and second medicals, and for all those reasons, that revenue should go toward adding an extra firefighter.
So just to continue on that, I think we've got 2 bills that have been paid at that rate. And depending upon what the ratio of private ambulance to Medicare costs are, we know that the average Medicare payment is about $600. The average run is $1,000.
Okay.
So right now, unless we see somewhat of a change in those numbers, we're hoping to get an increase increase from the annual revenue. But until we see those numbers actually start to come in, I don't think it's wise to try to plan an operational increase on anybody's budget until we see real numbers.
This budget that you're referring to, is this going up to the levy?
Yes.
So we're using all the unused levy that we've kept.
What's the free cash situation right
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Free
now?
cash.
What's the free cash?
Oh.
Free cash, so free cash, as you know, we can't use that to balance an operating budget, but we're working on our capital budget, and we don't have enough free cash to do everything we want to do this year.
Okay, so that was into my question. I know that we are seeking some acquisitions as part of this budget. Is there any logic or benefit in taking these out of the budget and trying to put them as articles on the warrant?
They don't have enough money as it is.
I know, but I'm just wondering if there's, any way to try that. Because I was thinking, sometimes when you present very specific things to town meeting voters, they're more likely to support it. When they get buried in an overall budget, sometimes they just look at the overall numbers without seeing what the actual expenditures are. I thought we broke out the acquisitions into maybe an article, and then we argue the need for those very specific things. I just didn't know if there was any that they could try to take that route. Well, and I understand your position, and I know that this is a difficult process. Well, we're supposed to be voting on this budget tonight. We just found out, oh, by the way, we spent like $50,000 out of this. And that's a
No,
tough
we're
thing.
not asking you.
But you said that we could get it.
No, what I'm
The
asking you.
total town is 50,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we're not asking you to absorb that at all. I'm asking you not to add to the original request. I'm asking you to adopt the version that does not have the restoration. And if things look good after if we can eat this deficit and we can have enough to negotiate a contract, then we can come to you and say, guess what? We have extra, you can restore those. But at this point, we're not asking you to cut, we're just asking you not to restore.
But in a way, and I understand what you're saying, but if certain individuals here were supportive of this particular proposal, and therefore we have to make it work within the numbers that we're talking about, then we're gonna have to cut elsewhere. So essentially, I know maybe it's not a $50,000 difference.
Yeah,
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think it's like 23,000.
27,000.
So if we wanted to support the teachers in this case, then we have to go through here and find the
Yeah, but I would
additional
ask
amount.
you not to move that to another budget for us to have approval, like you would have to cut it, because you're just moving.
No, but what I'm saying is if we wanted to support that, then we might go through here and hypothetically say, okay, well, we're gonna cut X amount of money out of our lease equipment, it's still a zero
Yes.
on net.
But the only thing I ask is that you don't create an article to make up the difference. or whatever.
No,
That's
no.
all. Yeah.
You had something else that you wanted to point out?
Right.
Personally, I mean, I support the restored positions, I understand the need for it, so I'm trying to find a path, where we might be able to protect that. And it's a difficult position to be in this late in the game, to try to figure out that course.
Well,
We are supposed to be voting on the budget.
I asked that of you the last time, so I
Yep.
mean, if it's not new.
Yep.
then-
Go ahead.
So I just was going to give one piece of good news, I think for not this upcoming year, but the year after. We will be having 64 students graduating, and we have 108 students graduating from Halifax and 64 going up. So your percentage will be changing. It will be decreasing. So the number... Yeah, I think you will be happier next year when it comes down to the assessment. So just a little bit.
But that's a whole year away.
It is a whole year away, but it's something to look forward to because sometimes things look bleak.
How does Kingston and Compton?
Kingston, actually, I figured that out. Yep, I looked at that. So Kingston has 148 students graduating and 173 going up. Plimpton is actually going to cry. They have 31 students graduating, 41 going up. For Plimpton, that's huge. Yeah. So, and again, students come and go in the year, but just to give you an idea, percentage-wise, Halifax may win next year. So, yeah. I just wanted to give you one little bit of good news.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, light at the end of the tunnel. So if I may, I just, Okay, so a couple of things that we looked at was, I've worked really hard to try to work with the town. Gordon and I have had numerous conversations, new and improved. communication and understand the difficulties of the town. So a couple things I did just want to mention. I certainly appreciate the concerns about the positions and restoring positions, but I believe we may have been the only department that last year had to take a cut. Some of that was due to the loss of the kindergarten grant, was where we lost the aides, and we lost 1.6 positions because of the, 1.4 positions, 1.4 aides, because of the loss of the kindergarten grant. But we also did have to cut the art position from a 1.0 to a 0.9. We had a retirement mid-year, and in order to make the budget, we did make that reduction. So it was something that we really are feeling the loss of here. The year prior to that, we cut the library from 1.0 to 0.9. You know, we really are feeling that our students really need those full-time positions. It is very difficult to offer some of the enrichment that we really want these positions to be able to offer to our students. It is very difficult in terms of scheduling. These are key people to us in the buildings. If we were to try to meet the town's request, but to try to restore some positions, my personal recommendation is if we could at least for this year, and I understand the town's positions, and I have some cuts to offset this, would be to bring back art from 0.9 to 1.0 and to bring library from 0.9 to 1.0. Those are only, well, not only, those are an increase of about $10,700. Next year, we could look at trying to replace speech pathologists to 1.0. This classroom furniture is $18,500. Personally, I believe we can put that off for a while. It is something that eventually we will need. However, I can tell you, having gone through all the different buildings and having sat in some of the seats when we have meetings that we go off into the room, although Halifax's furniture could use an update, it is not critical. I believe it could certainly be put off for a while, and that is a savings of $18,500. The other thing that we could do is either not purchase the scissor lift, or we have found United Rentals has a used scissor lift that instead of costing $9,325 would only be $3,350. So that's quite a savings. But again, whether or not that's something that would be as critical, considering the situation of the town, or whether the town would, I'm not sure what we could do with that, but you know, whether or not that would be something that would be of interest. The other piece of equipment is the $3,100 for the no-touch bathroom cleaning system. You know, if we wanted to try to make some of those changes, it would decrease our budget from version 2. I'm trying to do some quick math. Did you end up grabbing a calculator here?
I actually brought my phone.
Okay, great. So for version 2, we would take out, or you can look at it from version 1, I guess, depending on which one you want to look at. The version 2.
Okay, we've got 2 cuts.
I know, well, we did what you asked. You asked us to do one with the positions and one without. So why don't we go with the version 2 without the positions added, and let's just work our way through.
Okay, the thick one?
The thick one. Let's go with the thick one. So,
Very bottom left-hand side.
so Christine, I'm going to ask you to do this simultaneously, and again, I don't know how you would feel about these numbers, and Gordon, we talked about trying to do some things live, if that's okay. So the total budget, Christine, is if we took out the speech. Let's do the subtractions first. Let's take out classroom furniture, $18,500. Let's. This one. I'm going to let Christine.
And the one that says just version 2. that's
Yep,
what
version
it's
2.
at.
Yep. And we'll take out the no-touch bathroom cleaning system, $3,100. And we would take out, because the scissor lift is in here at the full cost. Am I correct, Christine?
Yes.
So that's $9,325.
Is the difference?
Yep. Well, it's the original number that's in here. If we didn't,
Oh, so
if we
we're
didn't
just
get that-
taking out right now.
We
Sorry.
could just take it out, just to see what number we get
Yep.
to, if that's okay. So if we took out those 3 numbers, so subtract out 9,325, 18,500, 3,100, so 21.
It's 39.25.
39.25.
Okay, so we would take out 39.25, and then we would add in, if we were to add those 2 positions in, we would add in 10,750.60.
50, 60.
$10,000.
$50.50.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what?
I only know this is because some of the numbers here
Yeah.
have actual sense. We only
All right, so-
quote dollars, but
You want to reduce by the 18.5, 3,100 and 9,325, and I'm going to add back the two positions.
Yep.
I think it's 2175.
I'm at 7,137,042.
So we reduced about by 20,000?
Yeah, 20,175.
you didn't add the used lift price.
We did not, nope,
We're not-
if you want the
yeah.
lift. If you were to go with that recommendation, you would reduce version 2 without the positions. The version 2, the lower number, which I think was the number, if I remember correctly, Gordon liked that number better? Okay. It would still reduce that number by 20,000, which would allow us to have our two positions at .9, back to 1.0, art and library. Positions that are difficult, you may have noticed we've had some turnover in library. It's very difficult to fill those positions. And it would still reduce our budget by $20,000 to help the town offset their issue. It would not give us a scissor lift, but it would give us back our full positions. Or if we wanted to keep the scissor lift in, it would reduce the budget by 17,000-ish. The scissor lift was about 3,000. Those are some options. We just wanted to give you some options today. We didn't redo all the budgets, but we wanted to have offline some numbers to work with. And we can vote a number and then bring the actual full budget at the next meeting. But we need to vote a number today
So that, I understand that.
because you have to have a number voted 45 days before town meeting. Our next meeting does not give us enough time for that. And then to Gordon's point, we can always go up or down depending on the town situation.
Can you just read the total?
Because I think when Gordon gave you the $50,000 deficit, it was with the number that he liked,
We just reduced it by another 17,000.
in addition to that.
Yes.
I think we reduced it by another 20.
Yeah, 20.
Oh, well, if we put the scissor lift in, I'm sorry. Yeah, we reduced it by another 20, Gordon. We just got you another 20.
Yeah, so what is the actual number we're gonna vote then?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just giving you options. I don't know what number you'd like. We'll do the math all out, but I wanted you to know an idea of what some of the costs are.
So our total regular day with those cuts would be what?
Would be,
Oh, I took it off the total. To the backwards.
yeah,
Because we're not touching anything below regular day.
Regular day.
I can do math. Well, it's just 2175 less. Thank you for behaving.
More or less.
You wouldn't have even known they were there.
No,
They
they've
were
been so good.
They have. Oh, I'm sorry.
So it should be 4, 3, 1, 2, 5, 7, 4. Oh, I have 4.
4312.
571.51.
Let's take one time, just double check that Christy got a different number.
I have a different number too.
Okay.
My question, I'm sorry, and just for the record, I'm new, so I'm learning all of this, and I'm sorry to do this in this publicly right now. This version, the thicker one, does that have the teaching positions
No.
as 1.0?
No, it hasn't at point nine.
It has them at .9?
See, this one is
Okay.
with the restored position.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
what I
does not
thought.
include the
So
restored.
that's why you have to back everything else and
Right,
then
this
add
is-
the position.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Casey.
Right.
Thank you.
4312.
571. We're gonna redo the math, Gordon.
So we're taking out the scissor lift, the classroom furniture, and the no-touch bathroom cleaning system.
That's correct.
So that's 9325.
Yep.
My.
18.
I have 4, 3, 1, 2, 5, 7, 5, 11.
Equals 30,925 is what we're,
We have to map each other.
Yep, I know, I should have brought my calculator.
30,925.
925.
Okay,
And then we're adding back in
we're adding back in
10,000. 750,
Okay, there it is.
60.
10,750.
60.
Equals.
All right, does Google Docs have some kind of a spreadsheet in there, guys?
No, it's really
got
not
it.
that hard.
It's not that hard. We got this. We just, no, it's fine.
2017440, is that what you have? 20,000.
I just got in an argument yesterday about people not knowing how to do basic math, and here I am. So all we're doing is taking this 4,332,749.51
Exactly.
and minusing 20,174.4?
Yes.
Okay, I get $4,312,575.11.
That's what I got.
Okay, good.
575.
4,312,575.11. Okay.
Yep.
$575.11.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Did you get that, Gordon?
Yep, I got it, thank you.
so by those choices, if those are the choices you choose to make, we gain the positions back to 1.0, art and library. Okay, got those back to 1.0. We can think about speech possibly next year, or if the town suddenly finds a pot of gold on St. Patrick's Day next week, we can think about it then. But we're reducing our budget by another 20,000, but still restoring those positions. Again, it's equipment that would be extremely helpful to have. Not saying it isn't. I don't want to make any of these cuts. I truly don't. But in terms of my personal recommendation, I prefer having the teachers before our students. That's my priority. But again, your budget, what it is you wish to do, but trying to work with the towns, we would still be reducing the budget by another 20,000. So the lower number, 20,000 lower than our lowest number for version 2.
Okay, I have a question, but go ahead, Mrs. Roy.
My question is, it's my understanding that there are no children that are not being serviced in art or music. Is that true? Is that a true statement?
That is true.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, I am not being somebody in the school, and I think Marie Grable, the special ed director, is that her official title, spoke last meeting about the importance of the position of the speech pathologist. And not that any child's need is greater than any other child's need, but I guess why the art and, forgive me, library and not the speech?
I would love to have all of them. It's really a question of financing. A speech is $16,291, and I'm not sure the town is in a position that they could, I mean, if we have to pick, we could go with just speech.
That's what I
and
mean,
leave art and
that's what
library.
I'm
We could
saying,
do
like,
that.
that's, I just want there to be a need. I don't
Yep.
want it to be, well, it'd be really nice to have a full-time art teacher, so let's do that, instead of helping children
Sure.
that really have a need.
Right. The speech pathologist was cut 6-ish years ago? About 6 years ago. I apologize, I can't remember exactly when. About 6 years ago? Do you remember, Steve? I think it was about 6 years ago was when we made that cut. So we have had that position like that since then. What Marie spoke to is absolutely true. What speech pathologists are doing now is they're working a lot more with students with social skills. And it is an area, to your point, that there really is a need. She can't do some of the things we would like her to be able to do within her schedule. I don't really know.
I mean, how
Which
do you
is-
weigh them? They're apples and oranges. They're not the same at all.
It isn't the same. We are fortunate, the towns have been very supportive of us. We do have, a full-time school psychologist, we have an adjustment counselor, and we have a .8 speech pathologist. The towns have been as supportive as they have been able to be for us. I mean, truly, and I know that, and I appreciate that. I'm not sure which is the easier way to go. And I know that the town would prefer us probably to wait to see what the outcome is before we make this vote. Was just wanted you to have some idea of the numbers, and what we could do. I mean, we're able to make additional cuts, but still at least, move some of those positions. If you wanted to vote all the positions, but make the cuts so that the positions don't add that much to the budget, we could do that, because you would still save about $4,000 if all 3 of those positions went to 1.0, or any iteration of them.
For me, I guess I have an issue prioritizing art and library when it's not a need and not doing the speech pathologist. I hate to be an all or none kind of mentality about it, because I understand, you know, a case can be made for all of them, but just personally, I mean, so we're talking about a number that's $30,925 without restoring any positions, and we're talking about a number that's $20,000. So it's basically a $10,000 difference to restore the positions.
For library?
For library and art.
Yep, it's $10,750.
Right, okay.
An additional 16.
16,281.
Right, for the speech pathologist.
And again, if the committee wanted to replace all those positions, but make the cut so it didn't impact the budget, didn't increase the budget, you could still reduce version 2 by 4,000-ish. Right, with the cut, you know, which would allow all those positions to go to 1.0.
Let me ask you a question, though. You talked about need, and need is a little subjective, I think, sometimes.
Sure.
Why do you think we need to restore the library and our position now?
You know, if it's okay, our principal and assistant principal are here every day. I'll let them speak to it a little bit. But I would, yes. We can all take turns. What?
You look like you want to
I wouldn't say I didn't have to you.
I think to start with the art position, for one, feel free to chime in, but the art position is something that we experienced mid-year, and it was really a challenge for us to kind of revamp some of the scheduling. But we did have the art teacher, Ms. Steinholm, was here. She was supporting students during those blocks when she had some open times. And now we are not doing that since we went back to a .9. So there's lots of opportunities that are missed there because we had to kind of scale back mid-year. We've also talked about having enrichment for art club and other pieces here in terms of we've been pushing for a STEAM initiative throughout the district, and that would fall on, a big piece of it would fall on the art teacher. And that, without
STEAM
those
is
extra-
science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. That's the A.
So that's, in terms of the art position, those are opportunities I think that are missed definitely within.
It's your interpretation on the word need. Speech, you'd be dealing a lot with special ed students, students with emotional issues. Library is in need of enrichment for students. So it's how you interpret the word need.
It's more about providing adequate or going above. And that's where I struggle. I really want to provide our students with the best education we can. And you know what, not all of our students are going to be into that science, technology, and math. I don't care how hard we push them, it's not in them. I don't want to cut back on the arts or music or any of it. It's important, you know, I've looked at what we've lost here since my children were here. And we do not provide the same education that we did then. And not for lack of want, but just because we can't. I'd rather see the positions all go back. I don't want to have to. I don't think it's fair to the students. I really don't. I understand where the town is coming from. I really do.
I would agree on the forefront, so just to kind of push them all back full time as we could, it's definitely, even with the library position, since this is my 5th year, and I think there's been probably 4 different librarians that have been here. It's been very difficult, and I do feel that we've found somebody that is here for the long haul, who's in a very short period of time has done a great job in rearranging just this space and just the construction that she's sort of delivering and the consistency to all of it. And in speech, I can't even explain how much her caseload is loaded. It really is. And she's doing a full-time job, almost in a .8 type of situation that she has here. So, and like Joy mentioned, there is a greater need for the social emotional piece that, we'll feel with the speed being the actual full-time position and doing that position.
So it sounds to me that we could replace or restore all three positions and still give the town $4,000 off the budget that we accept.
That's correct.
And I just wanted to add that my son receives speech therapy here. And I'm looking at this, thinking of him, sorry. But I value art and the library just as much. I would never want to have to choose for him between the two. Art, they get to, there's no test for art, it's
All the
released,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
creative, and that helps their, the right side of the brain, and then that helps with their math and same with music and all that. So I cannot choose one over the other. Is there anything else that we can chip at? Is there any new fancy new thing that maybe we're buying that we could pull out of this?
We can, to Gordon's point, if you want to vote a number tonight, and if you want to restore the positions, all three positions, we would still be reducing version 2 by about $4,000. We'll do the exact math. We can go back and have a list of cuts if the town asks us to come back again. I've worked really hard to try to communicate with Gordon, and, Kim, I see you around town a lot, but, working very hard with Gordon to make sure that we're providing budgets that meet the needs of the school, but also working with the town's numbers. I mean, I think Gordon would agree with me on that. I would love, with a capital L, to replace all these positions. I mean, truly, I would. I believe in all three of those positions. I was just trying to be financially responsive to the town's requests when I made those, and as sort of a way to begin to build back to those positions full-time. But honestly, we do need all three positions back full-time. And again, need is depending on how you define it. Absolutely. So, but we can do that. We can continue to work with Gordon. I know he's continuing to crunch numbers, I'm sorry, Bob, continuing to work with other departments, and if he comes back and he says, could you please try to see if you could find another 5,000, 10,000, whatever it is. I don't think the town is looking to burden the schools with all the cuts. I don't believe that at all. I know that they're working to provide us with the best they can. So, we can do that. We can work on a backup plan. I'm sorry.
Bob?
I have a recommendation, but first I have a question for Christine. You're going to talk about the science curriculum materials tonight?
This Christine.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
You know that we have to see that, the actual material, a month before we take the vote on it.
It's in the back of the room.
But I mean, we can't vote on that tonight. We have to vote on it next month.
We're not asking for a vote on the curriculum materials this evening?
Okay, but my recommendation is that we hold the science curriculum materials for a year, at least.
That means we have to take them, okay, in order to do that, we've got to give the money back to the town and then put it in this budget. Okay?
What was it, one more time? Give the money back
We
to the
have to
town?
give the town the money back because we're not spending it this year, like we said we were going to, because it's in fiscal 16's budget.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it would go back to the town as free cash. And then you would add that money to fiscal 16's, 17's budget.
I see what you're saying.
And they're asking us to cut 17's budget, not add to it. Right?
So, and again, I think what's, the thing with involvement on curriculum is the school committees vote the budget and the curriculum materials are in the budget. And we bring the materials forward to you to see, and I think it's displayed on the back I apologize for pointing, but I believe it's back where, right behind Kim. There's some of the materials there. The teachers have been piloting the program. The teachers are the ones using the materials, and we're looking to the people making use of the materials and the professionals, Chrissy and Melissa Farrell and our teachers, to make the recommendations on the programs that they believe will be the best for the students in the program. And again, that's how we've always done the budgets. I think when Dorothy Presser was at the thing and we talked a little bit about curriculum, I think there was quite a discussion about the roles of school committee in terms of voting the budget and taking advantage of the professional staff that you've hired to help make the recommendations for the materials
I have a
purchased.
question. Mr. Johnson, what are your qualifications for choosing a science curriculum?
I'm just going by the law. Chapter 71, Section 50 says we have to see it and approve it.
I want to know what your qualifications are for choosing science curriculum materials. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have the qualifications to pick a science curriculum, so I want to know what yours are.
Well, I expect to be advised by the science teachers.
And we have been.
Well, I
We
haven't,
have been all along.
I haven't seen what's recommended yet.
Because they haven't made one yet.
I think that's his point, not to speak for you, but
It is my point, that we're being expected to fund something that we have not seen or voted on to approve. We approve the science curriculum, believe it or not.
We have every right to vote on the science curriculum material.
Yeah.
I'm asking what your qualifications are to do so.
Based on their recommendations.
I'm not saying the law is wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I want to know what your qualifications are. What is your science background to tell me that if they come forward with this recommendation and you say no, what are you basing that on? What is your science background? I know what Melissa Farrell says. I know what our staffs are.
Yeah,
Okay, what is yours?
I just want to see it before I vote on it.
That's fine. I have no problem with that. And as she said, it's in the back.
Yeah, I have a question regarding that. It's a follow-up to the discussion we had last month. My understanding, how old is the current science textbooks? 15?
2000.
2000 for K-3, and I believe 2003 for
2003.
4, 5, and 6 is what the information
Question,
I actually
yeah,
said.
yeah.
And there are no new different textbooks coming down the pike in the near future.
I don't believe so.
So our choice then is
I think they
to
change all the time.
adopt
It's
the
really
newest,
expensive.
most comprehensive scientific textbooks available, or to continue using textbooks that are 15 years old, based purely on political ideology, in my opinion. That is.
Okay, I think that's a little out of line.
I have the floor, please.
But I'm telling you, I think that's out of line, and I'm the chair of this meeting, and I'm telling you, I think that's out of line.
That's a personal opinion, it's not within Robert's Rules of Order. It is my personal belief that this has become an ideological battle, and there is no place for political ideology in the curriculum of Halifax Elementary School students. It is absurd to me, and I have to agree, none of us, and I include myself in this, even though I was an education reporter for 25 years, nobody sitting on this board, all of us who are elected unopposed, has any level of expertise in picking science textbook for the students of this community. It is absurd and arrogant. There's a difference between what is legally permissible and what is morally responsible. And it is morally irresponsible to apply political ideology to the students of this community.
Okay, you've made your point. But I also think it's fiscally irresponsible to spend money that we don't have. So if there are things in this budget that can be put off until we can afford them, then that is also a separate discussion, regardless of political ideology.
But didn't we just
So if
have
science
$20,000
books are something that we, excuse me, I'm speaking. If science books are something that we think we can go without for another year or two, because science really hasn't changed that much in the last year or two, then maybe that's a discussion that we need to have. I also see that there's a reading intervention line that was not there in our last budget. If I'm, perhaps I'm incorrect.
It was there.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought the total textbook line was about $30,000, so that's why I was a little thrown off when I saw 50, but I could be wrong, because I don't have it with me
55,021, I have mine with me.
Yeah, I have mine too.
in the first one, because for some reason I had like 30 stuck in my head.
55,021 is something like 5580.
Where am I looking? Oh, yep, you're right. Oh, maybe I was looking at that number from last year, yeah.
If we cannot find science textbooks for another year, and the other districts go ahead and buy it, okay, what does that do for our students going into the middle school?
It does create an issue for us. One of the things that has been a challenge since I've been here, and again, this is my 10th year, used to sit over where Chrissy was, and had a lot to do with the curriculum intervention, is I worked really hard, and the towns have been very cooperative to make sure all 3 elementary districts sort of go on board simultaneously, so that it wasn't like Kingston got a new reading series and 5 years later Halifax got a new reading series, because all those students feed in together to the middle school. So we wanted the students to be on equal footing as much as possible. So we've been very fortunate, since I've been here, we have been able to simultaneously do implementations in all 3 districts at the same time. And it's really because the towns have been very supportive. When I started, the textbooks were very old. I mean, it was kind of frightening. A 15-year-old science textbook is an old textbook. There will be pieces of every textbook that you would review, that there'll be some things you're going to love, some things not so much. But what we have is a compendium of materials that we've looked at. They started out, Chrissy will talk about it, but they looked at basically 10 different types of programs that were out there, narrowed it down to 3, and Melissa was able to get 3 free pilots, which is astounding. They don't give free pilots anymore. The book companies just don't have it. So the teachers actually got to use hands-on 3 different systems. So that's why we feel like we've got a pretty good program going on. All 3 elementaries did the same thing. I don't think the town is asking us to cut the science textbooks. I mean, I may be misunderstanding. Okay, I didn't think so.
No, I didn't hear them ask that.
So I'm not sure that's what we're looking to do, is to necessarily cut the textbooks. I mean, I understand concerns. It is difficult to fund and do an implementation simultaneously. You know what I mean?
So are the other 2 towns both buying new textbooks for science this year?
They're all in the exact same place. Everybody's
Okay.
piloted, everybody has some money in this year to begin a purchase and then to complete it next year. All 3, well, assuming I get all 3 budgets through. I'm hopeful. I believe we will be successful with that. I have not heard from any of the other towns that they're looking for us to cut textbooks. Everybody's aware of how old our books are.
Question.
Go ahead.
Has it been looked into to doing open source? I was talking to a friend of mine, teaches at Bridgewater State in Massasoit, and in the colleges, they do open source where, you know, the presentations up here, of course, you know, the students have their own iPads, or, laptops or whatever. But it just seems like, and I think some of them are free. I don't know a lot about it. I just know that it takes away the book aspect. If something with science where it changes a lot, you know, is it something to look into where, you know?
Yeah, we have looked into some of that. The programs we're looking at have some hardcover, but also have huge online components, which allows them to make those changes on an ongoing basis. The students will have access to websites where they can go on. There will be lessons there. There'll be materials there. There'll be, exactly, it's both, and that's what we really wanted. We also wanted hands-on science. You know, science is all about getting dirty, you know, and having fun with it. As you know. So, I mean, that's something that we really wanted as part of it. It's tempting sometimes to get involved in science that are all kits, but then there's always the issue of filling the supplies and, you know, redoing everything. So we really looked to find something that had that balance, that had the online, you know, not necessarily open source, but had online curriculum, had the
But it's still
textbook,
tied to a
exactly,
text.
has a textbook.
You can't just get the online for half price?
You can't, no, they won't do
No.
that. They hold you
They don't let you do it
hostage.
at college either.
They hold you hostage. You have to have the hardcover.
You
It's
have to
so,
get the textbook to get the online.
yeah, and they won't let you just buy the online. You have to get the textbook. They really get you. So what the teachers have settled on, the two that it's narrowed down to, have all three of those components. It also has a very strong, and I'm stealing some of her thunder, I apologize, but it's not, get me talking, a literacy component, a lot of nonfiction reading, because that's an area that is hard for students. So we looked for a science program that had some of those nonfiction components to really sort of also strengthen the literacy. So I think it's really good, but I guess to get back to the budget, if we could, is if we could pick what you would like, it's your budget, trying to work with the town's requests. We gave you what you asked for, a version 2 as is, and then one with the restored positions. The town is saying they're in a deficit. They're still looking for 51,000-ish. So we can do any of the iterations we talked about. Again, just to summarize, where did my nice piece of paper go? No?
Can I ask Mr. Andrews a question
Sure.
while you're looking for something?
That's right there.
So just so everybody's on the same page and we're aware of what this means when we vote this number, if we vote a number and town meeting happens and we can't, and it puts the town in a deficit, like, can you just briefly explain what's going to happen in terms of there being an override, or if there is an override doesn't pass, does that mean we have to cut teachers, things like that? Like, what does that mean for us if we say we want a budget that's 40 grand more than what we're telling you, and what does that mean basically? I just want everybody to understand what that means.
So, if the override decision is up to the selectmen are the ones that get to decide whether or not they want to bring an override to the town. So they would make a vote on that. The finance committee make a recommendation whether or not they think that is a good idea or a bad idea.
Gordon, can you speak up? I'm sorry.
Sure. So the selectmen are the ones that would make the decision on whether or not to have an override question put on the ballot. I don't see one passing this town, but it could be that decision.
No. I don't either.
Currently, right now, the budget
Chris
number
Wood.
that we have in place as of tonight, we're $90,000 in deficit. With the updated number from tonight's meeting that was handed out, we're about $51,000 in deficit. So we need to go to town meeting with a level funded budget. So,
With a balanced budget.
yeah.
So I'm going to ask 2 questions if you don't mind. Have you ever heard of any situation in any town that went for an override, an operational override with $50,000?
No, I haven't.
Okay, because that's just not realistic.
But realistically, on that aspect.
That's without raises.
We have not funded the fire, police, highway, cemetery.
No, I understand. I'm just saying operational overrides are not for $50,000.
No.
Okay? It just doesn't happen.
Right.
All right.
But on that note, we still have yet to have an increase there, and most schools have an increase, and that's.
No, I understand. That's what leads me to my follow-up question. What overall number, because you're talking about the 50,000,
Yeah.
what overall number of the budget decrease in our budget would make you comfortable? Just a flat number, not like, don't do this, don't do that, because it's really up to the committee to decide, once we get a number, how we should best spend it. What number decrease would make you comfortable and would get the support of the FinCom? Approximately. I know you can't speak for the whole committee, but you're sensitive.
I would say the lowest number that you can pass would be the numbers that we'd be looking for. I mean.
Well, what's realistic? 10,000, 20,000, are we expected to absorb all 51,000?
I don't.
I would say that they would, this budget, like, we'll go back and look at it, because I think you shouldn't have to close the deficit for the rest of the town.
Absolutely.
And so, you're right, as a taxpayer, I might have a different opinion on what you do with your budget, but you pass the number, we bring it back, we work on that deficit. Again, I need to remind everybody that we still have other employees that are having their insurance going up. And I value firefighters, and I value teachers, and I value dispatchers and highway, because they do a lot for our children as well. And so we are losing qualified people, and so that's part of the things that we have to think about. So we need to figure out what that right number is to negotiate with, because right now, again, like I said at the earlier meeting, I don't feel comfortable sitting across from anybody on this amendment until we can get some of this deficit going.
But the town certainly does not expect us to break the town budget by cutting science textbooks. I just want to make sure that's absolutely clear.
No,
This
but
is
we
not
make
coming
sure
from the
to-
town.
We might come in back and say,
Yeah, it-
we need,
right.
You might need X amount of money, but you're not directing us
Yeah.
specific way to say,
Yeah.
help us out by not ordering science
No, they
textbooks
do.
and continue to use ones at 15%.
And as a-
That would be a decision solely made by individual members of the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I, yes.
I think we all know our position on the
Yeah.
school committee.
May
It's a little
I
ridiculous.
just ask one other question? So we have about $60,000, Christine, in vocational? So we have about $60,000 in vocational that will be returning to the town at the end of this year, but I believe unless something happened at the special town meeting in May, where it was voted at town meeting to use some of that funding, it cannot be carried over and used in next year's budget. Am I correct, Gordon?
correct.
I just wanted to mention that.
It needs to go through the free cash certification. So
Right.
what happens is the books will close as of June 30th.
Yep,
All the accounts will be, what's the term?
It will flow into free cash.
Yep.
And that's what we use to fund our capital budget.
right, and I
That
just,
number keeps getting smaller and smaller
Sure.
every year. So the things that we can find.
right, yeah. The only reason I'm bringing it up was I just wanted to mention, we talked about there being that money available, so I just wanted to say publicly that it won't be available. However, if the,
Until the certification.
until the certification process, but if the town chose, I believe, because Kingston did this, they voted at town meeting to use their vocational this current fiscal year to fund a capital project. And I didn't think that was available in May, but I'm just asking the question.
We haven't identified large deficits. You know, as you know, a few months ago, we were in a panic about this whole radio system.
Right.
Problem that we had with the repainting of the
Right.
water tower and some equipment issues. You were able to find it within
We-
your
we-
budget
right.
to help with those radios, as was other departments that
Sure.
were impacted by that mess. And so that money will flow into free cash, and again, that's part of our plan for funding capital things.
Right.
The capital planning has already recommended to the finance committee that your phone system be approved for that article. So those are the things that free cash.
Right.
will fund.
I just wanted to mention that money was there. I didn't want the community to think there was money there that the town wasn't using.
No, we'll use it in 70.
Right, I just sang it publicly. So, thank you. So, what's the committee's pleasure?
I actually have one more question. What happens if we don't all have a majority vote on a number?
Well,
We keep meeting.
we keep meeting. We have to have a budget voted 45 days before town meeting. That's a law. I don't remember what the number is, but
But that number can be tweaked?
It can be
As long
changed.
as the first vote is taken 45
That's
days
correct.
before town meeting?
That's correct.
Okay.
So if we could vote on a number this evening that is agreeable to hopefully the majority of you or all of you, would certainly always be the preference. And then Gordon and Kim, Gordon particularly, I think, will go back, crunch some numbers. As they both have said, I don't believe they're looking to find that $51,000 on the back of the schools. That has never been said. The towns have been more than supportive. We put together, I think we started off with a good budget. I mean, I think we came forward with a very reasonable budget. I don't think the towns at all felt we were being unreasonable. We would love, if at all possible, to bring all three of those positions back to 1.0. Again, there's ways of doing that. If we brought all three of those back, got rid of the scissor lift, classroom furniture, and the no-touch bathroom system, we would still lower version 2 by just under $4,000. So it would still be lower than the version 2, okay? Which I know was a number that Gordon was happier with, understandably. So if that would be the committee's pleasure, if we just vote a number, or if you tell me what the positions are or how you would like us to proceed, by April, I would assume Gordon would have better figures and be able to give us a better sense at our next school committee where we're at, and then the town meeting's May 13th? May 13th. Is that right?
No.
May
Second Monday.
May 9th? Sorry, I don't have
The
the,
13th is a Friday.
oh, okay. Friday the 13th? Is it really? Don't have a town meeting that day. May 9th?
Because May.
May 9th, May 9th.
That's what I thought. because the 15th is a Sunday.
Yep.
I would love to ask Mr. Bodry and our teachers here if they think getting rid of the furniture scissor list and no-touch thingy is more important than, I'm seeing nodding. So you think you'd rather sacrifice nice new chairs and have art, yes.
Just like to add on that comment, as Mr. Bowler stated, and as Ms. Blackwood has cut out things to make an effort to try to improve the situation, we have a great opportunity to increase whole child education. I mean, through the arts, with art, and expression. I mean, she'd probably be able to see 80 kids every 2 weeks in some type of enrichment, whatever she designs along with the administration. And librarian, the instructional librarian position, I mean, certainly that's the future of technology, instructional technology. It's a great opportunity for us at a time when they're coming in at the bottom financially. It's a great investment. For speech, that could be a decision for down the road. Since, the caseload here is growing, but she is being shared, so we can only speak for what we're doing here. But certainly, teachers make the school come to life. Curriculums guide us. But the people, we have 2 great young teachers, in this case, survived in the library. Our speech therapist is wonderful. We're lucky to have them. They make the difference when we think about choices, textbooks, equipment. Really, as teachers make it come to life, in our situation, we can have it. And enrich our curriculum. It's a great opportunity for really, I think, short run. And that's respect to the town and the situation the budget is looking at.
I actually totally agree with you. I think a good teacher can teach without a textbook, period,
We have some good ones. Some teachers are great. Be able to give them, we can, enrichment. We haven't had enrichment in a long time.
Thank you.
I agree with that, Steve, and just to add to it, these 3 positions are all new teachers within the last year, and even speech is, I think this is their 3rd year. So we've seen a lot of turnover in these particular positions. We'd like to look to the future and keep them here with us, so it's, I think, a short run to keep them, so.
I'd like to comment for some, speaking through the eyes and heart of a child, for some people, it's not enrichment. For some students, it's just that part of the It's when they struggle and they struggle and they struggle, and they can take a deep breath, go to art, come to library, homes, you think, well, sometimes it's a little more than enrichment. And we're not here, we're here to support and people, and that really can build a student and keep them confident in they have places where they can successful.
Thank you.
Before we vote on the budget, would it be appropriate to have Christine Pruitt do the science curriculum update? I'd like to hear that information before we vote on the budget.
I'm okay with that. Is everyone else okay with that?
So this year, we've been working with our curriculum coordinator, our principals and teachers on choosing new science curriculum materials to support the implementation of the 2016 Massachusetts Science and Tech Engineering Frameworks. During the summer and fall, close to 10 resources were reviewed, including TCI, Engineering is Elementary, STEM Scopes, FOSS, and Science Fusion. We received 5 presentations from various publishers, and ultimately 3 curricula were chosen to pilot. Some of the important elements that we were looking for were a strong literacy component to support nonfiction reading, lessons that had a shorter window or a longer window to dig deeper if necessary, an online component, and we did not want a kit-based program, as the district had kit-based in the past, which was difficult to sustain and had a yearly financial implication. The pilots were done in grades K through 5. The piloting teachers worked with the curriculum coordinator over the course of the year and continue to work with her on observations of all 3 curricula, as well as professional development around the components of the curricula and the alignment to content, as well as the practice standards. There was a unanimous decision not to adopt National Geographic Science Explorer due to the limited access to the frameworks that was provided. There was a limited variety to the materials, and it did not differentiate to all the grade levels. Inspire Science and Interactive Science have been the 2 curricula that continue to be looked at. Inspire Science does have positive components. It appears that, while Inspire Science does have positive components, it appears that Interactive Science has more opportunities for our students to differentiate the curriculum presentation and integrate STEM lessons. There are samples of both curricula on the table in the back. Inspire Science has a large online component that cannot be displayed at this time, so you won't see it all in the display back there. And that's what I have for you currently.
So it's been narrowed down to these two, but a decision hasn't been made on which way they're going to go yet?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know when they're, probably end of the month?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have that timeline that, yes, by the end of March, a final recommendation will be made.
And
March 28th, decision announced and budget in order.
And how many teachers, like, are the teachers' vote considered by Melissa, or?
Absolutely.
Is she breaking a tie?
No, to be honest with you, we had our ed leaders, which are some of our teacher leaders, we had a meeting about a week ago, and overwhelmingly, they are leaning towards one particular curricula over the other, and it is definitely going to be, if not a huge majority, but a unanimous decision on where they're leaning towards today. And I feel very, very supportive of the decision that they're looking at and the reasons for it. There's features to the curricula on the online aspect of it that are just over the top. And Melissa is so great because she talks to both reps and for the programs. And when she says, she'll talk to one rep and say, oh, but this one has this feature, and they'll say, we know, we just heard about it, we need to do that, and she's going back and forth with them, and so they're really looking at what are the best features for the kids. This one program in particular really differentiates what they do with kindergarten. I have a big passion for our early learners and making sure that what's in front of them is developmentally appropriate. But also has the rigor at the upper level that is needed as well. I personally, I really do understand the decision not to go with the kits, even though they look so enticing. I think the sustainability and making sure, I had a kit when I taught first grade in my classroom, and I couldn't even manage making sure that it was kept up to date each year, because we used so much of it in there, and it was just really hard to sustain. So I do really appreciate the fact that they're not looking at the kits, even though they are.
You can do your own with the
absolutely.
materials. You can do it with sand and a ball if you really needed to. You don't need,
Exactly. And there's no reason to buy, straws in a pretty bag that say
totally agree.
STEM straws when you can go to the dollar store and get them for $1.
Yeah, right.
So.
I had a question for you. If the teachers go in one direction, how will they be able to implement the curriculum if they don't have modernized textbooks?
So if I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? If they don't?
If you're leaning towards a certain curriculum, okay, I know you said that it has to do completely.
Right.
But if the teachers are primarily support, is it your opinion as an educator that you would need some sort of source text material to help guide the students to this new curriculum, or can it be done adequately using bits and New York textbooks?
Well, isn't the money for the entire?
The money's for the
Yeah,
textbooks.
that's what I thought.
And
Maybe that wasn't clear to you.
When we talk about textbooks, it's not, the textbooks that we think of that where we're, I remember growing up and getting the brown paper bags that we had to cover and how fun it was to decorate them. It's not that type of textbook. We're talking about, you can see them in the back. They're used to guide. Even I even look back there. There's one flap open that's used as a mat for exploration. So it's those kind of things. The textbook today is very different than the textbook when we were growing up. And I think that the way that the everything is morphed. I think back to 2000 was Pluto was probably a planet back then.
It still is. Okay.
Go to the Museum of Science. I was there on Friday.
My children attended Halifax in elementary school, and they said an architect was still a planet.
Exactly. Exactly, and those are the types of things, and yes,
think we're
technology
still
is
arguing that it
constantly
might be a plan,
changing.
actually.
Not technology, I'm sorry, science is constantly changing, and
It's in
understanding that, you know, there are other dwarf planets out there that they're discovering, you know, every single day, and they're creating names for them and bringing them in, but they're, in this one particular, there are all of these, you click on the website, and there are these feature videos that they have already picked out that are appropriate. The teachers don't have to go searching for them. They're all right there and very accessible. And they can choose, instead of having to go on YouTube, watch the whole video, make sure it's appropriate, make sure a bad word isn't said in them. You know, there's a lot of planning that when we incorporate technology, I mean, we can go on virtual field trips all the time. We don't have to we can go down to the, you know, a zoo where we can watch a live panda, you know, nowadays with technology, and we couldn't do that, you know, back then. And this one particular that they're looking at has all of those videos, and they constantly get updated. So that's somebody's job, is to find these videos and sort through them and update them. So, you know, I think that not having the proper resources in front of us actually hinders our students, especially if the other elementaries are going to adopt that type of material when they get up to the middle school. I think we'll definitely see an achievement gap.
So are the 3 towns working collaboratively to make a decision on one
Yes.
program? So it's
Yes.
not just Halifax goes with
No.
Inspire and Plimpton
No.
goes with Interactive?
No,
Okay.
it will be one decision.
Can I ask, if the standards were to change, are they adaptable enough to go, like, I know gravity's gravity.
Right.
But, like, it's workable if standards change?
Absolutely, absolutely.
One question, you said that one of them, the Inspire, has a large online component, I believe you
Inspire,
said?
yes.
Yeah. So is that,
It was interactive, did you say it was interactive?
They both do, but interactive science has more classroom materials than Inspire Science has, but they both have a strong online component. Inspire Science, most of their resources for teachers are online. They're not, the teachers won't have them in their hands.
oh, so it's more resources for the teachers then? So my question was, I just have a concern with the homework being like online based, because not every child has internet access. I mean, I don't have a computer in my house for my kids, so I mean, it's like, you know, I just think about those things if it becomes, well, your homework's online tonight. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sorry, I should have been more.
So I didn't know if it
articulate
was
with that.
for
It
the
is
classroom, okay.
Teacher resources online, teachers, you know, what they're able to access to show in the classroom, that type of thing is, you know, with one curricula, if one program, shall I say, if the internet went down, the teacher could still teach. With the other, I'm not sure. I'm sure they could, you know, any teacher can, you don't need books to teach, but if they're reliant on using those materials, it would be more difficult with one than the other.
Yeah, that just makes me a little apprehensive, like too heavy of an online component can somewhat take away from a kid getting their hands dirty, you know?
And I think everyone agrees with you on that.
Okay, good.
And then I was just going to say, to your point, if you remember a few years ago, I think we talked about Study Island. Like, when we had Study Island, it was never assigned as a homework unless every child in the classroom said they had access to the internet. So
Like it's
that's
an extra thing.
It's
Yeah.
an extra thing. So that's something that we always do, because we would be ill-served to give homework when a child didn't have access to the internet. So that is something that's there. It's freezing in here, I'm sorry. It's so cold.
When you were talking about each of the elementary schools, it's not a situation where if 2 of the elementary schools adopt this, but there has to be.
No.
Okay,
No.
I just want to be clear on that. So what you said before is that it's your belief that if the other elementary schools adopt the curriculum, we don't, and we would be putting our kids in a disadvantage. I had a question for you, Joy, which is sort of parallel to that. 2 months ago, I believe that we voted as a committee not to pursue Park as a testing mechanism. Which of the other schools have followed suit? Have any of the other schools?
Kingston voted to give Park. Dennett voted to give Park, and the middle school voted to give Park. The high school's giving MCAS because it's a graduation requirement.
So in both of these cases then, our students are isolated from the other elementary school students in terms of not having the Park platform and not being given the science curriculum. As opposed to the other students at Kingston and
The-
She spoke before about
Right.
being put in a disadvantageous situation. I would just hate for our students to be going down that path. Where
Sure.
they're not given the same resources going into the middle school as Kingston and Plimpton students are.
Right.
Because
I believe in terms of the budgets, the science curriculum is the same in all of the budgets in terms of access to the materials. In terms of MCAS versus Park, Halifax will not be taking the test online, so that is a definite difference. The MCAS test that the students will be given will have Park-like questions, but Halifax students will be doing it with paper and pencil. Again, we don't know what the future will hold. Honestly, I'd love to be able to know what the Department of Education is going to vote or what the future is going to hold. But Halifax students will not be taking it online.
have you heard any resistance from the other communities?
Well, can we talk about the science and the
Yeah.
budget?
Yep.
Because we're getting off topic right now, and we need to kind of focus.
Yep.
And it's getting late.
Yeah, it is getting late.
Have the other communities given any indication that they do not support the administration's recommendations on the science curriculum?
Not at all.
So we're the only community.
Well, I haven't heard a recommendation on the science
Yeah,
curriculum.
he just asked if there've been any concerns about it.
Concerns
Oh,
in the other
Yeah. Yeah.
communities about it?
I have not heard any.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
So what would be the committee's pleasure for the budget? What would you like me to do?
I like the number that gets rid of the furniture, the scissor lift, and the no-touch thingy, and reinstate the library, art, and speech back to, is it number 1?
Yes.
okay, so that number is $4,309,067.11. If somebody wants to check me on that.
I have four,
$4 million.
I have $4,328,856.91.
Oh, wait, hold on. No,
So
wait,
if
that's no positions, no equipment. Hold on, so.
So what Chrissy did was she added these three numbers.
Yep.
Then she added these three numbers, and the difference between them was,
Right, but this isn't the right scissor lift number.
oh, you're right.
No, it's
Did
the
you-
9.
Oh, she's the 9,
I
I'm
used the
sorry.
9,
She's the 9.
325.
Thank you, this one, sorry. Good catch. She did those three.
So if I can I just talk this out? So
Yeah.
Let
The
Christine do it.
16,000, are you adding the 16,000 to the up above? Because the 16 is under special education.
I was adding that.
Yeah, you
Shoot.
can't go add it to regular.
You can't
day.
add it regular
The
dates down here.
16,000 would have to go down below that line.
So why don't we let Christine do it, because she's really good at this. That's why we have her as our business manager. But good try.
So we're going to stick with the $4,312,575.11. That is the
Our regular.
regular day, including the two positions added back,
Yep.
and the cuts that we had. So then if we go down to special education,
Yep.
Can you say the number again?
$4,312,575.11 under total regular day. Did you get that, Gordon?
Do you need the 11 cents?
And then for,
Round when we vote numbers.
No, I know.
yeah, total special education would be
844-641.26. Let me just double check.
Wait, no, it has to go up, Christine.
Oh, I did just the special education.
You're adding the position, I'm subtracting.
You're right.
It should be, off the top of my head, about 877. 877-204.86.
Which would give us a total without out-of-district sped of,
You know what? You're pushing it.
Very stressful.
I understand that, but I want to see the numbers.
All right,
broken
we're
down.
working on it.
I'm sorry, I'm being a pain. But
I'm
I want
teasing,
what I want.
5,189,779.97. Are we there, Christine?
I have 8.7.
I have 9.7.
It would be 9, because 5 and 4 is 9.
Are we talking about the cents here? In
Talking
the
about the
8.7 and the 9.7?
Yes.
Okay, we're rounding it up to the nearest dollar anyway, so then that's how we do it when we vote the budget, because that's how the town does it too.
Yes. Up or down, wherever you want.
That 30 cents in the end is going to be.
You must be dying.
And that sends 4,000 something back.
And a jacket.
We're sending 4,000.
We'll take the 3 cents, Gordon.
If we were to vote that again for version 2, it would still be an overall reduction of about 3,892.60, just so you know. We still would be going down,
Wait, what?
but we would be adding those 3 positions, okay? For the overall total.
We're getting rid of stuff, we're adding stuff, we're sending about $3,000 that way.
Okay.
One, very good. That was really good, Linda.
That doesn't match me.
Now is, what is the total reduction between version 1 and version 2 of this budget?
Okay, so this doesn't change.
You're not going to have the same numbers? Okay, so maybe Chrissy isn't doing it. I'm looking at her. So if we could, I was going to suggest that maybe Christine and I go sit for 5 minutes quietly, and we'll both go through it, make sure we have the same numbers, and we could continue on with the rest of some of the, have the principal do his report, if that would be okay, just to make sure we have accurate math.
Please, before we vote a number, I gotta make sure that we have.
I would
the right
agree
number.
completely. Christine, do you want to leave the table, or are you doing okay there?
Actually, can we have a 5-minute recess?
It looks like,
Me too.
yeah, that works. That's fine with me. I got a difference of 30,925 between this, with this, 3 positions, no new equipment, and this
You're right.
30,925. You got that too, Brian?
The difference should be just the cuts.
Okay.
I think Summer just cracked it.
Okay.
Okay, back from recess.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
So is everyone comfortable with adding the 3 positions back full-time, but not acquiring this scissor lift, classroom furniture, and the bathroom cleaning system? That's, everybody's okay with that for a number? Because that's the number that we calculated. If anybody else has any other suggestions, we can do more math.
I'm going to say the number again for the people.
No, I will. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page before. Okay. So are we going to take a vote on this number?
I would love to do that.
Okay.
Very much. And I'm going to ask Christine, as our business manager, to give you the numbers.
Okay.
I am 100% confident,
Okay,
Christine.
where do you want to start, regular day?
Yep.
$4,312,575.11.
Okay. And
Next up is total without out-of-district spend. After our revenue offset, $5,178,642.47. Out-of-district does not change, at $1,974,782. For a grand total of $7,153,424.47. And out-of-district stays the same at $159,000. Location.
do you mind repeating the grand total, Christine?
Grand total, $7,153,424.47.
I don't suppose you worked out the percentage. I know, it's supposed to be.
Something below 2.75.
What was it?
Something below 2.75.
There we go,
That's what
there we
it
go,
was.
yeah, there we go, exactly. So I believe we take the votes for Christine?
Total out of district spend.
Is number one, yeah, then out of district transportation tuition separately,
Yeah.
and then out of district vocational.
So we need that number?
No, this number,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, that number, sorry. That number?
this number.
Yep. No, that number, yes, this number here, the total
The-
there.
Okay.
And
So
then the
transportation
out-of-district
total and then out-of-district vocational.
Yep,
Okay. So we don't need a grand total number that we vote on, we just
No.
need to break it down. Okay.
exactly. So anybody want to make those motions?
I move that we approve a fiscal 2017 Halifax Elementary School budget in the amount of $5,178,643. Is
Okay.
that due for the rounding? Yeah?
You said 79,
No.
Nope.
No.
5,178,643. Is that the right number? Everybody's got the right number, okay?
Yep.
All right, I'm reading my chicken scratches. Okay, so I made the motion.
All those in favor of the number that Casey just read? Aye.
I move that we approve the fiscal 2017 out-of-district special education number of $1,974,782.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
$1,974,782. That didn't change from any of those figures that we just all bandied about. Yes?
you separate that number out when you come to town meeting.
Out of this, do you want to separate out the transportation and,
Yeah, on our sheet, it's separated out, the special needs tuition, special needs transportation.
I don't think we've ever voted that way, but if you want to vote it that way,
It's just how we present it to the town, so.
Okay.
okay, so
That's fine.
transportation, out of district special ed transportation of $389,171, and programs with others as $1,585,611.
Somebody want to second it?
Oh, second.
All those in favor of the numbers Casey just presented? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay.
And vote the out-of-district vocational education at $109,000 and hope it doesn't change.
Thank you. Anybody want a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Okay.
Thank you. I'll struggle for the wrong agenda.
Do we want to go back into order?
Whatever you'd like, whatever your pleasure is.
Let's break it up a little bit. Let's go to the subcommittees. Did policy meet? Nope. Negotiations has not
meeting.
met. PAC, Pilgrim Area Collaborative?
I'm looking for the paper, all this tomorrow. We had a meeting on February 24th. We're still running a budget deficit for this year, and we are continuing to negotiate with our professional staff. And the treasurer evaluation will be discussed at open meeting at our next meeting on March 23rd.
Okay. Youth and Rec?
Yeah, I apologize, I was out of town for a couple of days, and I wasn't able to get a hold of this deal, so I don't have anything specific to report. They do have a calendar event on their website, and if anyone needs any more information, what I'll do is I'll go and get something from the state, so I'll post it on social media. But their calendar events, you go to the website, it's also on Facebook. So, again, I apologize, I just wanted to go touch base with them because I was running around, that's what.
Okay. PTO?
There's a meeting on February 26th. And we discussed present and upcoming fundraisers, the book fair, Providence Bruins, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, which will be the 29th at 7 p.m., and the Taco Show. Box Tops is ongoing. The PTO is still looking for volunteers for all board positions for next year. At the March 23rd meeting, a nominating committee will need to be formed for the PTO's bylaws. So if anybody out there is willing to volunteer, please come to the March 23rd meeting. It's a night meeting, it's Wednesday night at 7 p.m., March 23rd. Our PTO funds many of the important programs here at the school, and we would all feel lost if we don't have a PTO.
Is that what happens if they don't have enough people to sit on their board or whatever, just dissociates?
If they don't have board members, they don't have.
No, but I mean, do they need a full board, is what I'm saying? Like, we would still operate as a school committee if we only had 4 people,
Right.
you know? So I didn't know if the
You can operate
PTO.
with 2.
Right, well,
No, we
You
can't.
can't have to have a quorum.
some towns have 2.
But
Well,
ours
for
is
us, 5. Ours is 5.
So if we didn't have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
We wouldn't be able to.
Right.
So I'm not sure what their bylaws say as far as that goes, but it is important to have a full board to get all the different.
Right,
Can't
right,
put all
right.
the stuff onto one person or 2 people, it's overwhelming.
Thanks.
But they are very,
All switch at once, I wish they would stay.
it's the way the bylaws are written, it's not that it always happens that way. It's just because of the length of time that each individual has served. So some terms are 2 years, some terms are 3 years. It's just the way it has worked out in this particular board. It's nothing that they did on purpose.
Right. Well, hopefully we can keep that going. Capital budget?
Yep, we had a meeting with the capital planning board on February 16th. Mrs. Black and Mr. Pello and I met with capital planning to discuss the article in the town warrant about the phones. And we did a brief update about the MSC grade, and that was submitted, and maybe because of timelines, we might do that summer board meeting. And I can say
Next to you, and I didn't hear what you said.
But they were going to have one anyway.
yes, there's a possibility of,
Yeah.
because of timelines, we might need a summertime meeting.
She says as she twitches.
I'm twitchy, I don't want to say it. But because of the timeline, and I was looking at the 2015 timeline, and some of their things are due in August and September,
Mm-hmm.
but we might not know until after this regular town meeting. We need to meet those, so. The accelerated program is what it is, and that's what we applied for, because that's what we qualify. So,
Okay. Building and safety, unless you have anything to add to what
No,
the
give them by the 2 chiefs.
dual chiefs gave us earlier.
Yep.
Admin review?
we have not had a meeting, but you will be receiving an email from the superintendent, from Lisa Turcott, with the superintendent evaluation documents and a timeline for returning the documents. When we met and discussed superintendent's goals and the whole process, we had determined that we would be having an April discussion of her evaluation. And to back it up, we need to get the evaluation documents in. I believe it's March 30th or March 31st that they should be turned in. But that will all be coming out to an email to
Tomorrow.
everybody, and hard copies are available from the superintendent's office if you request them.
Great, thank you. And
And we're possibly having a joint meeting on April 14th. I did speak with the chair of Silver Lake, and he is going to check with his committee to see if we can have a joint meeting and just do this one.
that'd be good. Union 31, so I don't know if you want to speak to it, or,
I've got
I
it
can.
here, or if you want to take it, go ahead.
I was just going to say we voted a shared cost budget, but I'm sure you have something a little more detailed than that.
We met on February 29th. We did discuss and vote the shared cost budget. Just 2 areas to note changes are in the postage at the superintendent's office and the special education office. Over the summer, some of our special ed staff moved up to the administration building. Therefore, the postage at the administration building has increased, but in the special ed satellite, I'm going to call it, at Kingston, the postage decreased. But it is in 2 different parts of the budget, so just to be aware. But because we're renting less space at KES, we're paying less rent, so.
Yeah, good.
So we'll just, buy more stamps.
That's right.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's the same amount of postage, isn't it?
Different places.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beaudry, would you like to go over the calendar events and enrollment here at HES?
We have currently enrolled 543 students, K through 6. And right now, the projected enrollment for incoming kindergartners is at 83, which is a great number. We haven't been that high before. At this point.
That you've been
And I think that we have done a better job at advertising and getting our numbers in.
I like having that number that high now, and I'm just hoping we're not gonna get the additional 20.
Well, we'll see, but it's a good number to be starting at, so we're happy to have that. I already talked about the lighting, the budget. Just to point out some of the building projects that happened over the recent break and what we're thinking about coming up in April. We had 2 of the classrooms we were painting that hadn't been touched up in a while, so one was the music room and one was the teacher's workroom. And there's a huge need for just painting throughout the building, so we're just trying to chip away at it and have a plan for that. Also, in the cafeteria over the break, we replaced a number of tiles that were just popping out from age. It just really it seemed like it needed to be some of the tiles we were kind of gluing down or we were trying to replace and piece out. So what our guys did is just kind of took out a good section of the floor tiles so that we could do it right. Just kind of take care of it. Then over the next break, we're kind of still in the plans for some of the projects, but more painting. Our courtyard definitely needs some work. Our broken sticks and branches out there. Yes, exactly. And obviously some good cleaning that can happen in the springtime as well. Also recently there was 2 elementary classroom positions that were posted on School Spring and went up live on March 2nd. So we were close to 100 applicants already. Very short time.
Wow. A lot of unemployed teachers.
Sure, yeah. And they keep pumping them out, too.
So those are the 2 retirements that we're talking about so far. So in terms of timeframes, as we look through all the applicants and all their materials, then we pull together a team like we have in the past, meaning like we did for the position, is invite those candidates to come in and do model lessons and evaluate from there and see how we do it. So we're hoping that we can start that process after we look through the materials and for the candidates to do early April interviews, if that's possible. That's our hope that we could do that. So we can lock down the position before see if it's too far away. I guess I'll touch on the primary election that we had here last Tuesday. It was a very busy day. It seemed like a lot of planning went in place in terms of what we needed to do here in the building, in terms of with Barbara Gaynor and how we were organizing the traffic flow, safety in the building, staff parking, and we had a lot of different stakeholders that had to chip in with this. So the police department helped out tremendously. So they had two police officers on site, one inside the building and then one outside at the beginning and end of the day. Our drop-off pickup still went pretty smoothly. The library chipped in 25 parking spaces for us, so our staff could relocate over there. So it was pretty smooth, to say the least. And it was a very busy day. So we're
Did we just close for the major election?
Yes.
Because when I saw we had an election, I thought there'd be no school, and then I realized that we were. So, how did it work out? Do you wish that we were closed because of it? Do you feel like there was chaos and you wish you didn't have to deal with it? Or
It was successful, it was busy. Security was, very important, so we blocked off that area, that door at 8:30. We could enter, go through the gym. Even for music, we blocked that door, and people coming into music under the art room. I don't know if that was a new component since previous elections, but that door, from previous elections, there were some motors that were wandering in from that door, so we really wanted to make sure that did not access the.
Yeah,
And parking went well, probably have to revise.
Well, with police, Ryan, myself, and Matt all out there directing, we were all directing traffic. I don't know if people saw us on 106, but
Yeah.
we were out there.
I think it went very well.
It did go well. It's hard to say. I mean, in the town that I live, we didn't have school, but then my wife and I, we had to arrange for childcare for the day, and it's hard to say. I do feel as it ran smoothly here, and it was a lot of additional planning, but
We do have, I'll bring the calendar up, and we are going to have the November day off for the actual election.
I just wanted to know
But I don't think we've ever closed school for primary elections.
We haven't.
In the past, we've never really closed school for presidential elections.
No, we've always closed for presidential, just not primary.
Not,
Well, last presidential we did.
yeah,
That I
but
was
not
there.
the,
The one
not
before
going all
that?
the way back.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
it's a relatively new thing, just because the presidential elections tend to be more, busy. They
Yep.
tend to have more voters.
Right.
And the safety of the students is paramount.
Absolutely. And I had sent out quite a detailed email to Kingston and to Halifax, our two voting locations.
Dennett, they don't vote at Dennett?
They don't vote at Dennett, nope.
I was wondering-
Bulleting to make sure that everything was locked and secured, and so the principals did a great job. And checked in and saw Ted in the morning and made sure everything was good here, and did the same in Kingston and did a walkthrough, so they did a great job.
So you don't think it's too much? It's doable?
with the layout here, I think it is doable. I mean, because we ultimately have almost 4 lots, if you look at it. We're using the library. And we have a front 2 lots in the building, in the front of the building, and then the lower lots over here, so we can kind of separate it out so that.
I got parking, although it was a little, wait a little bit, but it wasn't too bad when I came.
Mr. Roisi?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point that really being down there during the election days and being displaced and having seen the different elections over the years, what are the most challenging? And this year I thought was excellent, the changes, the security was tight. I mean, we had great things in place to keep the voters circulating through so that they didn't make a wrong turn and go up all into the building. And students knew not to go down there, but it's the local and state elections when the people are here and actually picketing, handing out literature and signs are up, and, those kind of setups for the local and state candidates, which we didn't have in this, but when they're here, that's when it's just congested. And there's a lot of people standing around holding signs and promoting their,
Candidate.
they're trying to elect. But we didn't have that. And I don't know what Super Tuesday in November looks like, if it's everything, or if it's just presidential.
We're so close. We're so close.
When it's local and state, that tends to be busy on this site.
Yeah.
Good. Well, it's great to see you guys.
Everybody was on board. Seemed to kind of, we planned it out a lot in advance, and we were able to work with the town, so.
We've been having elections here since I'm not here, so I'm not saying what date that was. I'm not dating myself. It's been a while, so which one will happen after I'm away.
Just a couple of upcoming dates. We have the 14th, which is next Monday, is when term 2 report cards go home. 16th is an early release date, we have parent-teacher conferences. The following Monday after that, the 21st, is our first incoming kindergarten parent workshop. It's at 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then last week in March, there, and then starting on Tuesday the 29th,
Thank you. We already did the financial report. Christine, did you have anything to add to the curriculum update?
I'm all set at this time.
Okay, after, if we want to go look at it at the close of the meeting and ask you any questions, we can do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you so much. Now it's you, Joy.
Thank you. We did the budget vote. Thank
We
you very
did.
much. Excellent job. Really appreciate all the discussion and all the efforts made to come to an agreement on a number. I did want to let you know that one of the state laws is that we need to have a school choice public hearing. And I would like to recommend we do that in April. And what that is we will advertise in the paper like we do for our budget. And parents who wish to come in and have a discussion on whether or not Halifax is a school choice building. As Kane mentioned, we now have incoming kindergarten numbers of 83. Those numbers are very high. So at this point in time, unless something changes dramatically, I would not recommend school choice for Halifax because we're pretty much right at a very nice number for capacity. As you probably all know, we have 4 teachers per grade level in Halifax. So if we end up with about that 83, it's about 21 per class, and we really don't want to go a whole lot higher than that for kindergarten particularly. They can require lots of supervision. It's just that
Extra love and attention.
extra love and attention, I like it. So I did want to let you know, if it's okay, I will post publicly, we have to take out an ad in the paper to have the school choice hearing for April.
7 o'clock?
Absolutely. Is that good?
No, that's
Great,
right.
okay.
We do it right before our regular meeting.
Okay, excellent. And then the last thing I have is you have in your packet the draft FY17 school calendar, and it's all the way at the back of the calendar, of the packet. I'm just very quickly going to go through a couple of the highlights of the dates because it is getting late. On Friday, August 26th, that is our new teacher orientation. And the first day for teachers is August 29th and 30th, and those are our in-service days. And what is most important to our audience is August 31st is our first day of school next year, which is the Wednesday. Labor Day is Monday, September 5th, and we always start the Wednesday before Labor Day for our students. On October 7th, we were going to have a half early release day. The reason why is traditionally we have always held the Tuesday after Columbus Day off. That's traditionally been our fall PD day. But as we've all discussed with the coming elections, we will be having November 8th off. However, our families really like having that extended long weekend. Many parents have mentioned that to me. So we thought what we would do is have our half-day PD day on the Friday. That way parents could get out early for that long weekend. So they would have a little bit of an extended time. So it seemed like a pretty nice compromise, which hopefully will give our professional staff the PD in October, but also give the parents the break to maybe leave a little bit early for that long weekend in the fall, because it's a weekend that seems to be very popular. The 10th Monday is Columbus Day. Parent conferences would be October 20th. Again, November 8th is Election Day, and that's the in-service for teachers. It's a little bit odd this year in that November 11th is Veterans Day, and as you know, it's actually always a day off is on that day, so that there will be 2 days off that week. So it's a chopped up week, but it is what it is. We can't control those days. Thanksgiving will end the half day on November 23rd for the Thanksgiving break, and then on Friday, December 23rd, it would be a full day. That would begin Christmas vacation. We'll return to school on January 3rd. When I first presented the draft of the budget, we hadn't realized that the Monday after New Year's Day is actually a legal holiday. When New Year's Day falls on Sunday, you have to celebrate on Monday. So this is version 2 of the draft. By version 3, we're really going to get good at this. So January 3rd is when we'll return. Okay, because we had not picked up on that at first. January 16th is Martin Luther King Day. The 17th is in service. February, the winter vacation is the 20th through the 24th. I did want to just mention very briefly, I had one parent email me to ask that we remove the February vacation. I do not recommend that. I believe that it's a time that we have a tremendous amount of colds in the buildings. We really need to clean and everything's coming through it. It's a week that we very much need in terms of doing upkeep for the building. Actually, we had 3 out of the 6 buildings had some damage with a severe cold the cold snap that week. We had burst pipes in 3 buildings.
And it wasn't us.
And Halifax was not one of them, I'm happy to say. So it was really, we really needed that full week to get things cleaned up. So I'm going to recommend that we keep that February vacation. The other schools that I presented the draft calendar to have definitely been supportive of keeping the February vacation. Parent conferences, March 23rd. We will have another early release day at some point in March. The reason is we don't know when the state testing will be next year. They haven't released a schedule. They haven't told us what they're testing. We're having a hard time planning a calendar around them. April 14th is Good Friday. Spring vacation, April 17th to 21. May 29th, Memorial Day. June 3rd, high school graduation. Good, important day. And June 14th is the tentative last day of school. So, she's already got the year done.
When do you know the testing schedule for
I
next year?
don't know. They are not saying a lot.
It's a big secret.
It's a big secret, so,
Everything around the testing is
yes.
a secret.
So,
No kidding.
Professional development day, give parents a calendar without a date.
we won't until we have it. To be announced, to be determined.
I have one
Sure,
request.
sure.
I love the circle, half-days. The italics without.
It's very hard to
the
read.
bold. Can we do boxes around there? Have a
I'll check with our secretary. I'm not sure, but I agree with you. As I was reading through it,
Just because like I'm going, is that,
yeah.
oh, I assume, yeah.
Yeah, no, I
It's
agree.
election day, well, what
Yep.
does that mean?
I'll ask Lisa. She's good at this.
Keeping it.
Sure.
User-friendly, idiot-proof, that's
Yeah. Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a friend who teaches at a high school nearby in an adjoining town. And they actually do all of their in-service days at the beginning of the school year. And it knocks them out. And it's good for the teachers and it's good for the parents because they don't have these sprinkled in days. Like I don't have in-service days off. You know, I used to have a job where I didn't even have holidays off. So I didn't know if you ever entertained that idea to clump them together and just bang them out all at once in the beginning of the school year.
There is some logic to that. We have our 2 days before school starts. We used to have only 1 day before school starts, and we had the other one in June, and we actually moved to have 2 8-9 years ago. I think it was one of the first contracts that I negotiated was we moved to have the 2 before instead of the 1 in June, which I really like. It's a great way for us to have time to get together and to do the PD. But stuff happens during the school year, and if you have everything in the beginning, you have no opportunity during the school year to reconnect if other issues are coming up. So for us, I like the way we have it spread out, one in the fall and then the January one. The half PD days are something that we instituted 3-ish years ago, 3, 4 years ago? It was longer ago than that. No? 2? 2? He thinks 2. I think 2 is fair. You said 1, I said 3, so I'm stuck going with 2. It's been a while. We didn't used to have the half PD days. You know, I think we could certainly revisit some of these things, but I really think the full days during the year gives us an opportunity, especially like if you learn something before school starts, you can follow up in the fall and then do it again, you know. So if you have it all before you get a chance to test out, it's a long time to have PD again. So like anything, there's positive and negatives. to everything.
Right. Yeah, she just spoke very highly of it. She was like, they just implemented it this year and she loved it. But again, the year's not over.
I was just going to say that. We didn't say
So,
other things.
but, you know, it was nice for her because she has her own kids.
Right.
And it was nice, you know, for her just to get it out of the way. But I'll ask her again just because I was curious. And I was like, wow, that's a fantastic idea.
I've never-
But I can completely understand the logic in sprinkling them throughout. Right. Because, you know, you make good points. But yeah, the half-day thing too, that's hard on parents.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's a
Well,
conversation that can be had.
Sure, we can continue to revisit it. So this is just a draft budget, budget on the brain, draft calendar. And, you know, you have a little time to look at it. First round of it, as I said, the first time I presented it, we had a January 2nd day, now we don't. So we can continue to look at it. The budget, the calendar, all the districts have to agree on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because
That's
we don't
part of-
have it separate by school, for buses.
That's true, yeah.
So we have
Part
to.
of the beauty of being a regional
Yes, it is.
school
It's
district.
one of the wonders of my life. So that's all I had.
Awesome. Is that everything?
That is everything. No
Not that I
executive.
know of.
Nope.
All right.
So dates to remember, March 16th, we have an early release for all of Halifax elementary students. March 25th is Good Friday, there's no school. And April 4th, at 7 o'clock, we will have our school choice public hearing, followed by our school committee meeting.
Motion to adjourn. I said.
All those in favor of adjourning? Aye. Opposed, abstentions?
Excellent. Thank you.